Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast. This is your favorite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer. I have to let you know that I was spending that whole 15 seconds of the music coming in holding myself back from nonsense laughter. I just have to let you know the restraint that was being shown during that moment. Joining me, as always, is Jeremy Raditich.
I appreciate the restraint.
Oh man, I knew I couldn't come in with the silly giggles, but man, they wanted to take over, Jeremy.
Yeah,
they wanted to take over.
I bet they did.
Couple of things as we start this show. One, let's even say a few things. One, thank you for being here. Two,
You're welcome.
Yes, welcome. This is the second episode we're recording tonight. So if you're here with us live, thanks for sticking around. We are recording 2 episodes tonight. One bonus Game of the Year episode where we kind of did like, it kind of turned into like the MiniMap Awards for 2022, which I kind of like. That was good fun.
I might call it that.
Yeah, that was good. If you want to know what the best Elden Ring noun is, or what the late Queen Elizabeth II would have played this year if she didn't die, then go listen to that podcast. We just recorded it. It was excellent. And now because we recorded that one and we're doing this one, we're in a bit of a silly mood. If you couldn't tell.
This was a good idea.
I'm having a great time.
This was a good idea.
Yeah, I think this was a good idea. There was also something else, Jeremy, and I wanted to start the last episode with this tip, but I forgot it. But then I remembered it between episodes, and we had a second intro coming, so I could say it today.
Yes.
Did you know when using a rapid antigen test with the nasal swab? Oh, sorry, I just had a banana. I don't know what's going on. With a nasal swab. With the swab, you're not supposed to poke it like up. It's not supposed to go like towards the sky. It's supposed to go more towards like the back of your head, like more towards like not your spine. It's a bit low. So you don't want it low. You want it kind of a little bit up, but mostly to the back, mostly behind you. I did not know that.
Yeah, you want it in like the cavity up.
Yeah, I didn't really know there was cavity that way. I didn't know there was more room backwards than there was upwards.
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of how many I've done. I must have done maybe 60 or 70 at this point.
Wow.
Like just like
honestly,
like,
Jeremy, I've probably only done 10% of those. I've been so inside.
Well, yeah, like I've been, like I did one every week after Games Week. I did one every week after different events that I went to, going to parties, and then finding out a couple of days later that someone there like had COVID, and so like then just doing one every day after after those, and like I none of them have been positive, which has been good. Like I did one every day when my housemates had COVID and stuff, right? Like so I've done quite a lot. Yeah,
for sure. I did one yesterday. And gave and restarted a blood nose that I'd had like a week ago.
Not uncommon.
And I was talking to my mum about it, who works with a lot of nurses, and she told me that you're meant to go more that way because with a conversation she was having with someone earlier this week. And I did it. Didn't have a blood nose. I did sneeze while the swab was in my nose and like jerked my head forward a bit as I gotta poke myself in the brain with that swab. Yeah. Maybe that's why I'm feeling a little loopy tonight, but. Public service announcement, everyone. Head towards the back of your skull rather than the top of it.
Yes.
That was it.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Hey, everyone. This is the MiniMapCast. This is the final one for the year. This is going to be our Game of the Year discussion. We're going to be talking about so much. And when we're done with this episode, wanted to let you know we are going on a hiatus for the start of 2023. Oh my God, we're about to start 2023.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about it.
Sorry. I just realized it. Sorry. Oh my God. Start of 2023. We're not going to do a few episodes. Probably 2 or 3 weeks into January, you might see us. Maybe a little bit later. We're not sure yet, but somewhere around there. Mid to late Jan, we'll be coming back. And if you want to hear more about when we are coming back, good news. We're on all the social medias where you can follow up with us when we announce stuff like when we're coming back. All of those social medias. We've got a Twitter, we've got a TikTok, we've got a Twitch, we've got YouTube, we got Instagram. All of those are at MiniMapAU. If you're on Hive, we're at MiniMap, but we'll see about that. It is back up now though. But yeah, you can find us all there, as well as on minimap.com.au, our website, where you can find everything that we've ever done for MiniMap, including every episode of this podcast. If you want to hear what we're recording, as we're recording it, you can watch the show live every Monday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Eastern Daylight Time?
Melbourne time.
Yeah, AEDT. At twitch.tv/minimapau. And then you can catch us the next day, every Tuesday. If you miss us live, we'll be live on every podcast platform of your choice, as well as YouTube. Yeah. The bonus that you get if you watch us live is you get to hang out and chat with us like a bunch of our friends are. Sam's here. We got big old B-Man. We got, who else was here before? No, that's it for the moment. We had Tom was here before as well. We had Byron here. A bunch of friends of the show in the chat. You could join them by joining us 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time whenever we're recording the show. Let's see. I've done this out of order, but we're doing pretty good. Like I said, last episode we did was the MiniMap Awards for 2022. It really was a good show. I do recommend you go back to it if you missed it. Something we wanted to say was thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model the Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. Lastly, if you want to help keep the lights and mics on, you can throw $5 our way and become one of our patrons. It helps us to continue to do this. You can ask us questions to answer on the podcast. There was some discussion on the during the break between shows whether we would upload feet pics to Patreon. Bit on the fence on that one, but I guess we'll update you if that happens. And it's as cheap as a latte with oat milk either way.
No free feed pics.
You can do that by going... Pardon?
No free feed pics.
No free. No. They're too valuable. You could do that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. It would help us out a lot if you decided to do that. So yeah, let's get into the show. Jeremy, I've got kind of like 3 categories that we kind of scraped together here. What's your kind of list of games looking like? Is it just your like top 5 or?
Yeah, I've got a top 5. The way we're doing it is we're gonna talk about our top 3. We're gonna have 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah, which we'll gloss over.
Yeah. We're going to deliberate until we can decide on what the game of the year is that we are awarding as Minimap.
Mm-hmm.
We're also going to predict each other's rankings.
Oh, I forgot this.
Yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Okay, no worries. I got a few shout outs I'll go through, but they are brief because they're not my top 5.
Sure.
So how do you want to start?
I reckon we start off with what we think each other's rankings are.
Okay, so what are each other's top 5 games from this year?
Yeah.
And so we should guess like what are the 2 honorable mentions, what are in 2nd and 3rd place, and what's the top one?
Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting for you because you've played so many.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, and like, yeah, okay, so I have played exactly, like, enough that I can talk about them.
Yep. Yeah, should I pull up the Notion page you shared with me? So
no, because it's got spoilers.
Okay, good.
For your ranking. 23 games that I had here that I had played enough that I could talk to.
23, wow.
23, which is like, that's a pretty good amount, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Some of them I only played like twice, but I played them enough. You know, like I don't think I needed to go back and continue playing Nintendo Switch Sports over and over again.
But Jeremy, they just added golf.
I did think about that, but I don't actually own the game. It wasn't mine. It was my old.
That's right.
It was my old housemate's. Yeah. I'll give you a quick tip there, Kerry. Them adding golf wouldn't have made me put it on my list.
What?
that might surprise you.
Shocker! Spoilers for the list, everybody. Watch out.
But yeah, so like, I played 23 games. Do you know how many you played, Kerry? About
from games that came out this year?
Yeah,
it's probably more like a dozen, close to. I don't have the exact number. A number of games were for work. Things like Saints Row and Gotham Knights, games I played a lot of, but
the heavy hitters.
Probably wouldn't have bought for myself.
Fuck, I forgot that game came out at all, let alone...
What? Which one? Gotham Knights or Saints Row?
Gotham Knights.
Yeah, you didn't even see it when you're looking at the list of games to make your own.
I genuinely didn't. Yeah.
I almost finished that game. I had to uninstall it for space. I was interested in the ending, but I think I might just YouTube it. But yeah, no, I do have some in here. Jeremy, there is one in here that might throw you for a loop.
Okay.
So I'm going to say I think you're going to have an okay time with most of this list, but I think one of them is going to be a bit of a monkey wrench for you.
Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you what my prediction for your 5 are.
Okay.
They are Elden Ring.
Okay.
God of War Ragnarok.
Okay.
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Okay.
Vampire Survivors. I think those are all pretty safe. Those are all, I think, pretty safe. I'm trying to think of what the last one is. I I think I'm not going to get the monkey wrench one. I think I'm not going to get the one that's throwing me for a loop. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to as a safe bet, I'm going to say Sifu.
Okay.
With
these are all games that I have played this year.
Yes. I think in your top 3 is Elden Ring.
Okay.
Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
And Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Okay. I'm being so like, I'm giving you my poker face.
Yeah.
But also my poker voice.
Yes. And I think that your game of the year is the Elden Ring.
Okay.
That's about as close as I can get it.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. I like that.
Yeah,
good work.
I've got what I think your 5 is. With what your top 3 is and your number 1.
Yeah,
I don't know about
top 1.
Like I would assume you would put God of War above Pokemon Legends Arceus only because you finished it and you didn't finish Legends Arceus. But also
fair reasoning. Fair reasoning, Jeremy.
Yep.
That is fair enough. So for you, I think we're definitely going to see Neon White.
Okay.
I think we're definitely going to see Elden Ring.
Okay.
It gets a bit tricky. Because we've played a number of games this year that we have enjoyed differently.
Yep.
I'm wondering about Horizon. I'm not going to lock that in yet.
Okay.
We are going to talk about Norco, was what you spoke about last week, right?
Yes, that is what I spoke about last week.
Yep, I'm sitting here trying to. Was it called Narco? No, that's
the show with Pedro Pascal.
And
the guy from Logan. That isn't like the bad guy from Logan.
The bad guy from Logan.
The guy with the metal arm.
Oh, he's in Narcos.
He's the lead.
Great.
He's quite a good actor, actually. I feel like he could do something really great. But
is he the guy from the mainland who gets brought in to consult? And yeah.
That show's pretty cool.
White guy.
I enjoyed quite a lot of that show.
Yeah, I almost watched it when it came out, and it's been like 8 years since.
Something like that.
Good story, Kerry.
Yeah.
We're definitely seeing Vampire Survivors. I feel like there is one more that could bump Elden Ring or Horizon that I'm forgetting. Something that you really loved that only you played that I'm forgetting. There's a lot of those.
Queer man staring into a rockpool.jpg.
I don't think I'm going to get it in the next 30 seconds. So I think for good measure, just for fun, I'm going to say Stranger of Paradise.
It's not that.
Pardon? What's that?
It's not that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just leave it with Horizon Forbidden West then. Although I really don't think it's in there. I'm just struggling to think of what those more individual picks that you have are.
Okay.
Were you saying something?
No, that was it.
Okay.
What do you reckon my top 3 and my 1 is?
Yeah. So top three. Horizon Forbidden West is definitely an honorable mention. And honestly, I think Elden Ring for you is going to be an honorable mention too, leaving Norco, Elden Ring, and Neon White. Norco, Vampire Survivors, and Neon White in the top 3. The question then becomes, what is number 1 for you? You and I both love Vampire Survivors. We know this. Our audience knows it. We haven't shut up about it for literally 12 months because it came out last December, in early access. You did really like Norco last week, but it's new. You might be accounting for that recency bias. I'm gonna say Ooh, this is hard. This is really hard.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I literally went through it.
I'm just thinking it's good I never saw your. Oh, I'm getting a bit of help from chat from B-Man.
From one Will.
Marvel Snap. Okay, I'm officially replacing Horizon Forbidden West with Marvel Snap, but I'm going to leave that there in the honorable mentions. I'm not looking at your camera. I'm gonna say, and honestly, it's kind of a coin flip. We've been saying it as a joke all year, but let's just cement this as a prediction. Vampire Survivors is Jeremy's game of the year, with Neon White and Norco in second and third place, maybe in not that order, with Elden Ring and Marvel Snap falling in for the honorable mentions.
How do we want to reveal this? Do you want to reveal it now?
No. How about before that, I go through my sort of vague lists of games that like aren't quite related to this.
Okay. All right.
It's sort of like a kind of a palate cleanser or something, I guess.
Sure.
I like the idea of doing them one by one rather than revealing the whole list.
I think maybe we can reveal the whole list and then we'll talk to those games individually and then start to rank them.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So then we do the predictions are out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay. So my other kind of list here, like my kind of dishonorable mentions, I guess. There are a bunch of games from not this year that I played a lot of that that are a big part of my 2022. I can't talk about my year of games in 2022 without talking about Persona 5 Royal. I played 20 hours of it in 2021 and then didn't touch it till like February. And then we kind of didn't stop. I was going through my trophies and it was like every 2 or 3 weeks we're getting through some of the big milestones. At the end of the day, my file was at 140 hours when we finished the game back in August. Sam and I really loved the world. There was only one really crappy boss that really soured my experience, but we got past it. The music's incredible. Characters are amazing. It's everything you've heard about for the last 5 years since it came out. Persona 5 Royal is incredible. And I'm so glad it's on so many more platforms now for people to get to. I don't know if this would have made it to my list if not for a session that we had for this next game, rather. I'm talking about a new game now.
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for a session I had in the last week, but Disco Elysium is one of the best games from not this year as well. Shocking no one, because we spoke about it when it came out, or Jeremy and June did at least. But Jeremy, Sam, and I, we got to the end of the first day, and Harry's his name, which we found out in this dream sequence, goes to sleep, and there's this incredible dream sequence. And I won't really say much more than that for people who haven't played it, but it was a really good payoff. I've been watching that clock every time we play, and it only really progresses by an hour or two every time I open and close the game.
Mm.
And I knew it was getting close to the end of the day, and we did a whole good session, and found this whole other area and did this dream sequence, and it was. The writing in that game has always been special, but
yeah.
I was quite taken by the areas I went to and the threads we pulled on in that one session. I think it did a lot for me. So I definitely want to get to it again more still. I'm not uninstalling it anytime soon. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention Clone Hero and the RAFnet Wii to USB adapter and my return to Guitar Hero in 2022. This was an awesome experience for my gaming this year, and I recommend it to anyone who has an old controller lying around or a yen to get back into it. Even just play the old games, honestly. Like, they're so good if you can. And this is going to be even faster. Games I wish I got to. There's a bunch of stuff I just didn't get to, and I really wish I had. Stuff like Immortality, like all of Sam Barlow's games. I haven't gotten to any of them yet. Wish I'd gotten to that one. A Plague Tale 1 and 2, Stray, Fire Emblem Warriors, because it was based on Three Houses. Played so much Three Houses. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Still haven't gotten to that. Stanley Parable Deluxe.
Lego Star Wars is on Game Pass now.
Star Wars?
Lego
Really?
Star Wars, yeah.
I don't have 2 Xbox controllers.
Should get one.
Maybe. I don't like them, though.
Yeah, but think of all the co-op games that are on Game Pass. There's a lot. There's a lot of co-op games.
Yeah, Jeremy, I don't have an active Game Pass subscription right now. You just got a shiver. You're like,
It's not a shiver, it's just a disappointment.
Horizon Forbidden West is on this list for me. Games I wish I got to. I did play like 5 to 10 hours of this game. I played a decent bit, but not enough to feel like I could properly rank it today or give it a proper scale. So I do wish I'd gotten to it. And the game that is in bold on this list that I'm really sad I didn't finish or even get a proper grasp of is Neon White. That one, Neon White, won our This Game Fucks award in our last episode, for a good reason. It's amazing, and I so wish that I had gotten to it to be able to talk about it more today on my list, but I just didn't, so I won't.
Yeah, I've got just a few honorable mentions. One,
yeah, please.
Only one of them not coming out this year. Kind of 1.5 not coming out this year. Bloodborne is a game that I like quite a lot.
Indeed,
it is forever my game of the year. Once again,
game of the years.
Game of the years. Bloodborne is. Got my PlayStation Wrapped the other day and found out that Bloodborne was once again my most played game of the year. This year, of course, I made.
Can I just say, in some eldritch witchcraft, you somehow had the same number of hours as the last year because you put your two Wrapped side by side from 21 and 22.
No, that's the same Wrapped. It's just a different view of a different part.
Oh, I thought it was 21 and 22.
I was wondering why you looked at it why you responded to that tweet so weirdly.
Yeah, I said it's so eerie because I thought you'd somehow played the exact same number of hours and it had been number one, but it was also the same percentage of time that you had played, meaning that for the 33 hours you played on Bloodborne that year, you had somehow only played the same number of hours of any other game between the 2 years, which seemed impossible. Turns out it was.
Turns out you were not in the know, as it turns out, Kerry.
No, out of the know.
Yeah, Bloodborne always. The other game that I want to give an honorable mention to that did not come out this year is Fortnite.
Really?
Yeah. It's been good fun. It's been fun to play.
It has been good fun. We'll always remember the time where we were streaming after a show, wasn't it? No, you were streaming and you couldn't get Scorn to work, and I was like, Fortnite?
Yeah.
And then we turned into big silver goo blobs and went.
That was very funny.
So funny.
We've done dumb, funny shit in that game, and it's also really fun.
Yeah. It's also wild.
Yeah, which we've spoken to death, and we talk about it every 2 weeks. And you know what it is, Kerry? It's a fucking Fortnite or something.
Welcome back to Fortnite.
That makes it look
Game
like
of the year, MiniMap Fortnite.
The layers in the wrong order. I want to give a shout out to 2 games. These games are not on my top 5. They did come out this year. One of them being Gran Turismo 7. Weirdly enough.
Oh, really? That's funny because you didn't really come back to it, right? Once you played it.
No, I did actually all year, but just kind of quietly.
You're kidding.
I never really stopped playing it. Like I would.
You kept this secret from me, Jeremy.
Like I would play it maybe, like I don't know. I would sometimes take a month off, but then I would just jump in and just keep going, doing more, completing more menus, continuing to play more. Getting more cars, tuning them, continuing to play. Yep. It's kind of my relaxation game at the moment is Gran Turismo 7. The music is really nice. It looks really I know, right? Like because
I'm astounded. I had no idea.
Every week I'm like, what did I play? And I kind of think about Gran Turismo 7. And I'm like, yeah, but like I don't have anything more to say about it aside from I'm just still playing more driving.
Drive car, look good.
Yeah, like that's kind of it. I'm getting better at it each time I play.
You know what, Jeremy? Good for you.
Yeah, game's good. Game's good. It's got issues, but it's good.
When was the last time you played a game that wasn't... Or when was the last time you kept returning to a game like that? You know what I mean? Where you played it new and you dropped it for a bit and you came back and then you kept playing it and you dropped it and you came back and like we're to the point where you're talking about it at the end of the year.
Stranger Paradise, I guess, was the most recent one. I
guess.
Yeah, which is like not... like, you know, my dishonorable mention.
It's not even there.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the other game I wanted to mention, which is not on my top 5, it was 6th.
6th. Okay.
Was Citizen Sleeper.
You did enjoy that game.
That game is really good. That game did make it in, honestly, until 2 weeks ago. It got edged out. Citizen Sleeper is really wonderful. It's really approachable. It is a dice RPG set on a space station. Really great story, really great characters.
You said dice, and I heard like Battlefield. I was like, what? Created a Battlefield.
Dice-based RPG.
Yeah.
Really excellent. Like, and like there are things that I wish the game did more of, but there's DLC coming soon if it's not already out. I don't think it came out yet. I'm excited to play more of that. I will play that DLC when it comes out.
Great. Awesome.
Really, really good. I have 3/4 of an article that I wrote about it when it came out that I haven't finished. But it's sitting there ready for me to go. I can see it there.
You should finish it.
I should finish
I'd love to read it.
Like I should go back and actually replay it. Okay, Citizen Sleeper is good enough
that's why I haven't finished it.
Well, Citizen Sleeper is a good enough game that I will go back and play that game again at some point.
Right. Is that partially because of dialogue choices and the randomness, or?
No, I don't care if I get the same outcome. It's just a good game.
Wow. Okay. Cool. That means a lot coming from you with your desire to keep up to date.
Yeah.
It's exactly that game and games like that I was trying to remember when I was trying to dig for that.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at Citizen Sleeper on my list that whole time, being like, I wonder if he's going to remember it or not.
Yeah, no, I didn't quite, because that's one I could barely remember on my own, let alone in this context for some other function. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Jeremy, when are we going to put in the break? Shall we reveal our top 5s for the predictions, go to a break, and then go through them one by one?
No, I think we should actually go through the honorable mentions.
Oh, the honorables.
Yeah, like I reckon let's go through the honorable mentions. But I think we should also just reveal what our top 5 is.
All right. Well, you went first, Jeremy. Wait, no, you guessed mine. So I think I'll reveal mine to you now.
Sure. Reveal them to me in alphabetical order, let's say.
Alphabetical order. So without the order of which one's which.
Actually, okay, no. Tell me your honorable mentions.
Okay.
And your top 3, but not what the top 3 is.
As in not which one is the first.
Yeah, not in order. Yeah.
All right. My honorable mentions are. Oh man, I'm excited for this.
Oh,
my honorable mentions are. Sifu.
You wrote down my predictions, right?
I wrote them all down. Yeah.
Good, great.
I wrote down your I wrote down your prediction. So yeah, actually, yeah, good point. Let's go through what you predicted for me.
Yeah. What was my honorable mention predictions for you?
You guessed Sifu, God of War for honorable mentions.
Yeah.
And then you guessed Legends Arceus, Vampire Survivors, and Elden Ring for my top 3.
Yeah.
With Elden Ring being at the top.
Yeah.
My list. Honorable mentions, Sifu, and God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So you nailed it.
Yep.
My top 3. Vampire Survivors, Elden Ring, Fortnite No-Build.
Good. It's a good monkey wrench, as you mentioned. I did consider putting it in my top 5.
I had the thought today while I was preparing for this, not at my computer, and I was thinking, what is even my top 1, let alone my top 5? And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, is Fortnite my game of the year? And I had to seriously consider it. I had to think about it. And I'll let you know that I did come up with an answer to it, and I have not revealed that answer to you yet. But I had to, even that it was in consideration kind of blew me away.
Yeah. Yeah. How close was Arceus?
I did.
Did you forget about it?
Forget about it a little bit. But effectively, I do think so fondly to it. I think part of the problem is I'm just so far away from it, and I never got drawn back to it. I really wanted to play more of it, and I never managed to pull myself back to it, which I think hurt it.
Yeah.
I think maybe if I had, it would be up here. Might have bumped Sifu, but Sifu did a lot of things really right, where Arceus did most things fine and a few things good.
Right.
or a few things great. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Where I might have enjoyed Arceus more, I feel like Sifu's a better game. Sifu has some frustrations, but some like higher highs with the overcoming of stuff. So it is close and good and different, and like they're in there for different reasons. But yeah, it didn't quite make it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So did you write down what my predictions were for you? If not, I can read them out.
Yeah, read them out.
Okay, so I predicted that your honorable mentions were Marvel Snap and Elden Ring, and your top 3 was Norco, Neon White, and Game of the Year was Vampire Survivors. That was what I predicted for your Game of the Year list, top 5.
They are.
What are the results?
Those are my top 5.
Oh, yes!
You did a really good job.
Shout out to Will in the chat.
You did a really good job. And on top of that, those are my 2 honorable mentions.
Yes. Okay. So Marvel Snap and Elden Ring are your honorable mentions. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna.
It makes sense when we've been doing a weekly podcast with each other all year.
It does.
But it's still very satisfying to get.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I was sitting here trying not to smile because you got them like fucking pretty dead on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna read you my notes on Elden Ring because like so far there's not many because I haven't. Well,
hang on. First, I would like to say what are your top 3? What's the rest of your list first?
Oh, so you got them right. Neon White, Vampire Survivors, and Norco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. In a vague order, in a non-definitive order for the top 3. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so your notes for Elden Ring, please.
They're quite short because I'm in the process of trying to write a little bit about my top 5 to 7, depending on how I go.
Oh man, I saw that you wrote a thing for Marvel Snap, and I edited it.
I know you edited an article that I wrote about Marvel Snap, and you didn't remember it, which is so funny.
Just disregard it because it's a mobile game, and I don't like it that much. Sorry, continue.
My notes for Elden Ring. I still can't believe they pulled off an open world FromSoft game.
Mm-hmm.
Paragraph. Fuck, I wish I loved it.
Yeah.
Paragraph. It's so big. Paragraph. Too big? Question mark. Paragraph. It feels absolutely divine. Paragraph. The multiplayer is still needlessly complicated.
Yeah, that's true.
And like that's all I've written on it.
Yeah. I did have the thought recently of maybe I should jump in with Jeremy. Maybe we should do some of those last bosses together and those last dungeons together. Maybe that would be a way to get Jeremy through it in a way. Like if he doesn't end up going back, I don't know. I've had that thought.
I will go back, like in the same way that I will at one day. I will go back and beat Dark Souls 2. Like it'll happen at some point. I'll fall into it and just accidentally do it.
Yeah,
I'll do that with Elden Ring. I'm not saying I feel the same about Dark Souls 2 as I do Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is really great.
No, they're the ones you haven't finished though.
And Dark Souls 3. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny.
And just to put a cap on it all, my Marvel Snap, like I'm in the middle of writing a Marvel Snap thing, so that'll go up at some point. But my 6 to 10 I did also rank because I just wanted to do it. 6th was Citizen Sleeper, like I mentioned. 7th was Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, it was close. Okay, I don't feel too bad that I had it in there. Okay.
Yeah. And it was against one you forgot as well.
Yes.
Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga was 8.
Yep.
9 was Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And 10 was Gran Turismo 7.
Nice. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I had a tough time with my list because I was trying to think, what are the games I played this year? Oh yeah, I did play too much Gotham Knights. And what else? Oh yeah, that Saints Row game, huh? It's tricky. I'll definitely speak to it more when I get into the rest of my list. But I can get into it now, actually, when going through my honorable mentions. Starting with God of War Ragnarok. I have an interesting relationship with this game.
It didn't make my top 10.
Oh, fuck. Yeah. What the? Well, yeah. Yeah, you were. Yeah.
I was never high
That
on
makes
it.
sense. No, you kind of never were. It wasn't like you were, because a lot of people were kind of like low then high or high then low. Like a lot of people kind of like seesawed on it. But you were pretty steady in like a fine to good range.
Yeah.
Like worth playing, but that's enough now.
God of War was my conversation about like games with this much money can't come out poorly.
Yeah. Yeah. Too much investment, too many people, too much excitement. Yeah, too much money. So yeah, God of War Ragnarok. I do really like this game, and I do really think the combat is quite excellent. I'm very much looking forward to playing the whole thing. And don't worry, no spoilers for this one. But I'm very much looking forward to playing the whole thing again with Sam, and doing all of the side content and hearing more of the writing. I love the dialogue and like moment to moment writing in Ragnarok. But I have a strange relationship with these games that I have worked on for work. And I'll talk about it more with Elden Ring as well, which is in my top 3, which we've revealed already. But it's evident here in God of War as well, where it's the kind of thing where it's like, I don't know if I'm going to need footage for this or not. So I start OBS and I just start recording everything I'm playing in case I need, it's a linear story game in a lot of ways. And so maybe I need that one moment where Mamiya says that one random thing for an Easter eggs video. Or maybe I need to talk about that time in Vanaheim or the first time you go to Svartalfheim or whatever. And so I just record all of that. And when I'm recording footage for the game that I'm playing, I absorb it differently. I play it differently. It feels different. And I'm working on figuring out a way to sort of decouple my feelings of responsibility and my work brain from my personal enjoyment games as a passion brain. I'm going to be working on that for years, I think. None of that tension can pull away from the fact that I really like the writing of God of War. I really think the gameplay is quite good. I really like the open world structure and the missions and just being there. I think the story isn't all that, which isn't too surprising to me considering the first game and where we landed on what the plot was at the end of that first game. It all kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, I'm glad it's here. I'm glad I played it. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. And I've really enjoyed the discussions we've had about it too in the last few weeks. Yeah. And then Sifu is interesting because, like I said just before, it's got the really high highs and the low lows. And it's not in like a Dark Souls frustration kind of way. It's in like I guess a Sifu frustration kind of way. But mostly I mean that in the way of like, it has an unrefined frustration, a frustration of not difficulty, but of why did they do it like this at times. Overcoming that is what leads to that high of highs, and it is part of their vision. It's what their game is. And it is good. Their art direction is out of this world. Like literally it goes out of the world. Like it is like paranormal and supernatural and visually stunning. The music's great. The style's great. It's not developed by anyone who's part of the culture that is being represented in the game, which is a problem. And it needs to be said. But yeah, no, they do something really unique and fun here. And I do think it is a good time. But yeah, those frustrations that I felt for a good half of my playtime with the game cannot go unnoticed.
Yeah.
And they do bring it down a fair bit. Sort of like we were saying when we were discussing whether Arceus was close or not. It's what's keeping it right on that knife's edge of,
sure,
good to great game. It's in there. There were times where it was great, times where it was good, times where there's very few games that have literally made me swear at them in frustration, and this was one of them. But by the end of it, I wanted to go back and do the whole thing again. So it's a strange push and pull. So Jeremy's top 3, we've got Norco, Neon White, and Vampire Survivors, which is how I predicted they were. And
actually,
my
just before we jump ahead into the top three, I think.
I'm not getting into them. I just wanted to like refresh them.
Oh, yep, sure. Continue.
And then my top three: Vampire Survivors, Elden Ring, Fortnite No-Build. Both of these not necessarily in that order. We still don't know what number one is for each of us.
Yeah,
it's all spooky in the wind, like a ghost. Ooh.
There was a thing I wanted to go into detail about Pokemon Snap about.
Marvel Snap?
Marvel Snap. Pokemon Snap is a different game that did not come out this year.
I should play that new one.
Yeah.
Do you own it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna borrow the hell out of that if you let me.
I wrote an article on Marvel Snap, kind of.
Yeah.
It's a thing that I haven't done in a while, right? And so I was flexing some muscles that I hadn't stretched in quite a while, and so I'm gonna rewrite the whole thing. Weirdly enough, I'm gonna pitch it to you now in word form, which will help me write it later down the track. But I think it also talks to what makes this game so good.
Okay.
And part of what you got when you were editing it, you got something that I didn't know I had just yet. So I'm gonna play off of that, which is I wrote this article, and it's kind of the way I initially framed it was it's a card game for someone that doesn't like card games.
Right.
And as I was writing this, I did not really enjoy this angle that I had taken the entire time, only because I am very over the game for people who don't like Game X.
Right. Okay.
And so I was writing and going like, it's fine. That's why when I got to the end of the article before like editing it, I just sent it to you. I'm like, fucking, you look at this. I don't want to look at this anymore.
This is your problem now.
Yeah. But you touched on something that I did pick up on in the article, which was how short the games are and how good that is that they are short in length, in time. It is 6 moves, sometimes 7, rarely.
Right.
Which is very short. Then what I did, I then took some time and I went, okay, I'm going to time myself playing this game. I'm going to see how long every match takes.
Since the edit, since I saw it.
Since the edit. First game was 3.5 minutes. Second game was 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. 2 minutes, 8 seconds. 2 minutes, 40 seconds. Like there was a lot of quite short, under 3 minutes. A lot of these.
I didn't think that they'd average under 3.
At least in the era that I'm playing at, which is like I'm not taking much time making moves. A lot of that's waiting for people. But sometimes that was
you're familiar with the cards enough now. You can.
And so are all of my opponents at this point.
And the other thing is like with some card games, you could play multiple cards per turn, and you can in this one, but it's quite rare because you get such little like card energy.
Sometimes it's yes and no. It's not about the actual physical move that takes time. It's just about knowing the calculations you have to make. It's just about how quickly how quickly you can look those steps ahead.
I just mean like you don't have that many resources to make that many decisions with.
No, not at all.
I guess is what I mean per turn.
Yeah, decks are small. 3 lanes, all this stuff, right? Like it's a very small game, which is why it's so good, I think. And it got me thinking, while I was preparing dinner one time, I was playing the game in between doing steps of dinner. And I realized that this is the perfect game to play while cooking. That this is the perfect game to, I'm preparing dinner. I'll cut a bunch of veggies, put them in, wait for them to get ready.
Yeah.
Cook the next bunch of veggies, but I've got some time in between then the veggies need to go in because they need to go in at the right time, because otherwise if they don't go in at the right time, then they don't cook at the right speed.
But also you're waiting for your opponent's next turn so you can stir while you're waiting.
Even that, sometimes I'm having an entire match in between a step of cooking because it's so short. It's 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's 3 minutes. You know, it's 3 minutes to boil some water. You know, while I'm making noodles, it's 3 minutes of soup in the microwave.
Yeah, that is such a small amount of time. It's pretty hard to see an opportunity where that won't fit in.
It's such a small amount of time, and it always fit. And sometimes it was like, okay, well, I've just finished a match. I'm just gonna go through my quests to make sure I see what I got to do. maybe upgrade a card or two, and then quickly continue doing what I was doing in the kitchen, put something in the oven, check it, make sure it's all right. Not ready yet. Probably needs about 3 more minutes. Close the oven. Another game, Marvel Snap.
Mm-hmm.
A perfect game, maybe.
It's pretty impressive that it can be so short and so tight.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Like
sometimes
that a match could be 2 to 3 minutes, player versus player, and feel complete. Feel like a whole match.
Yeah, and sometimes, oh, what a match that was. Sometimes, holy fuck, that was close. They were doing something good, and they almost ruined me, and I almost ruined them, and I didn't, but I just edged them out. And sometimes it's, there's always a level of luck in every card game, but sometimes it was just that I was better or I wasn't, and I knew it, and I could tell, and I'm like, well, I need to... This one card in my deck, because your decks are so small and because games are not that big, you get through all of your cards in 2 games, usually. Mm-hmm. It'd be very rare for you to not get through all of your cards in 2 games, even rarer in 3. So your weakest links become very apparent. Like, well, this card isn't really fitting. I need to change it.
It also alleviates the it kind of eliminates the factor of some deck building games, which is like, how big do you make your deck? It's kind of like the game's too small to even worry about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are some decks that are like 10 cards instead of 12, like that are super focused, but like,
well, like it's like Marvel Snap decks are only the same. Oh,
they have to be 12. Yeah, like that helps it out a lot, because that's some meta strategy, is like, oh, I want to make this a really lean deck so I know I get my good cards. Or it's like, oh, I can fill it with good stuff, but I never know if I'll get it because my deck's so full. Like that's such a meta way to play a game. It's like playing the odds. It's not strategy, it's like playing chance.
Yeah,
but you have to take it into consideration in deck builders.
And on top of that, there's also no duplicates. So it is 12 unique cards no matter what. There is no 10.
That's fascinating. Yeah. I didn't know that.
It's what makes it so good, honestly. It's how consistent and everything has been thought of, and it's to the point. It's a really look. I've been playing it every day for the past 3 months. Like, when I miss a day, it's because I'm really fucking busy and I don't get a chance, not because I didn't want to play it.
Yeah.
It's on my home screen.
Yeah, that's it. Talking about it like this kind of makes it amazing. It's not higher on the list.
Yeah, it was close. I thought about it. I was like, is this a top 3? And I'm thinking, look, it's really great. It's just, I think my top 3 are just, my top 3 edged out Marvel Snap. Not that Marvel Snap didn't make it.
Totally. And like, it's also in company with Elden Ring. Like,
well, Elden Ring was my other honorable mention, but
yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, it's here in the same category with Elden Ring, in a list with 3 others above it. So like,
yeah,
it's in fine company.
Oh yeah, and like, I can see myself playing this game for a very long time. So,
excellent. Well, everybody, those are our honorable mentions. We're going to be back with our top 3. We're going to go top 3, top 2, and then our number 1s. Where will Fortnite end up on my list?
And then we're going to deliberate.
Where will Vampire Survivors end up?
And then we have to deliberate on which is the number 1.
The number 1. Minimap's number 1. We will find that out right after this break, everyone. Stick around. We won't be very long at all. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast, the final MiniMapCast of the year, our Game of the Year discussion. We've been talking about, not games in the chat, we've been talking about eggs and chocolate.
Eggs and chocolate.
Eggs and chocolate and ethical shopping.
Yeah.
It's been quite educational, actually. I've had a good time.
Yeah.
It's actually been quite long enough now that I'm realizing I need to get back into the swing of what are we doing again? Game of the Year?
Game of the Year.
Here we are. Game of the Year, everyone.
About our bottom of the top 3.
Yeah. 3 and 2. Do you have them in any particular order, Jeremy?
I do.
You do?
I do.
Let me see. Let me look at mine.
I do have mine.
Nah,
I
I refuse.
Like I did for the first time in my life. I think ranked my top 10 as like this above this.
You had a whole thing going, Jeremy. Do you want to show the people? I'll describe it to the audience, but do you want to show the people your gorgeous list? Oh no, you'll have to do it at the end because it'll give everything away.
Yeah, or I can tell you what they are. Either way.
Nah. I want to go through the.
You want to go through the little
I want to do your third first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's keep the suspense
Yeah.
a little bit.
You want to know what my number 3 is, Kerry?
I'd love to know, Jeremy. Why don't you let me know?
It's Vampire Survivors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be that low. That's me. I've got it wrong. I'd had it at the top. Sorry, number 3 to Vampire Survivors. A well-earned podium place.
What a fucking game.
Mate, what a game.
What a fucking game.
I played it some more over this weekend for the first time in months.
Yeah.
And because Will, who's in the chat, our friend, he was playing some and streaming it, and I was watching, and I was like, oh, what's that? How do you get that character? What's that ability? And Ollie's like,
Will's in the chat playing it right now.
And Ollie was like, you should play more of this game, Kerry, since you played it last. Seems they've added a lot.
Yeah.
But they added DLC, I think Will bought. And so then Ollie was saying, oh, what's that?
Yeah. It's just so solid.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, but in a like it's definitely achievable. It's just about I just didn't get the right combination in the right way.
Yeah, or like you didn't quite get one weapon to pop off early enough, so you got a little behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, when you get it to the point where you've kind of like won the run like 15 minutes early, that's still fun.
Yeah.
Like you still have to pay attention the whole time, and it's really fun to just like sweep the floor with an overpowered build. I'm gonna say now, this will probably be like a relatively combined. I think we should do you first still, but this is my 3rd/2nd spot.
Sure. Well, we can talk about it together then.
Yeah.
I'll read you my entire Vampire Survivors notes page because there's no article in this one yet, which is Vampire Survivors absolutely whips. The music thumps. The synergies. 30-minute length, which I wrote here just to remind myself. It's
you survive from vampires.
It's so simple. You can play it with one hand. It's really cool that the only active gameplay you are doing is moving. And the whole game works towards that, right? They complement that. The enemies, they're all about they're all movement based. It's all zoning. It's all spacing. You want to move around and kite and go around the obstacles, and then you kill a strong enemy and they drop something and it's in the middle of the fucking horde, and it's like, well, I wonder if I can like fight my way there. And so then you start to quickly wiggle back into the horde a little bit, and you notice that
you're trying to get an edge. You're trying to push in.
Yeah, and you realize that maybe you're actually stronger than the horde, and so you commit a little bit further, and you commit a little further, but you then realize that like some of your health is gone, and it's because you might have committed just a little bit too close. But you can do it at a certain amount of movement. You can make it through the horde. And then you get that item and you realize that item has created a synergy in between 2 of the weapons you've upgraded. And the moment you do that, the horde clears out from in front of you.
Yeah. And
you can waltz through until the next minute. And then a new wave starts. It is so fucking cool.
The synergies, the evolved weapons, man, they're so fun. Like, and especially on like a stats level as well. Like, part of this game kind of does just boil down to numbers at some point. Pardon me. Because you just spend so much time doing the same thing, walking over and over, and different enemies, and as you level up, and so it becomes a bit stats based at times. But when you lose your run, or you complete a run, and you get to the end, you get your damage breakdown. And it tells you how long you had each weapon for, how much damage it did, its damage over time, or damage per second.
Yeah.
And you'll see the Holy Bible or whatever it is, the blue books that spin around you. And they did, let's say, 800,000 damage over 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But then you had the leveled up like Red Bible, whatever that one's called. The evolution that like never stops. It's way faster. There's way more of them.
Yeah.
And it's done like 5 to 6 times the amount of damage that the other lower evolution did in 20 minutes. It's done like 5 or 6 times that much damage in half the time for the rest of the run.
Yeah.
And it's the same with every other evolution. They're so outrageously powerful, and you need all of them to survive the full 30 minutes to get to the end of a run.
You do, and so you start to put together like a bit of a build where you need to manage how much inventory space you have versus the potential for getting a better synergy. And then you start to manage synergies that free up some inventory space when they combine. And then you're like, well, if I get this and I can survive with a bunch of weak weapons enough to level this one up, then I will suddenly have more space for the long run. And so there is a bit of, push and pull that you have to do with the game in a way that is really quite compelling. And allows the runs to always feel quite different. There are a handful of levels. I want to say there's maybe like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've up to it yet, but they get pretty fucking weird. There's one that's not a level, like how they are. If you don't know what I'm talking about, which is fine. You can explore that when you get there.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
Yeah, you would know what I'm talking about if you would know, but you don't, which is kind of exciting for you. There's enough levels to make it feel varied with enough pickups.
Yep.
And also enough characters. Yeah. That they've each got their own little quirk, their own little fun twist on the gameplay. Which some of them are really, really fucking weird. Like I'm not sure if you've got the one that spawns cats.
No, I haven't yet. No.
It is so weird, and I don't really know how to do it because the cats just wander around their own.
Right.
And they will attack enemies that walk by them, but they just sort of chill and do their own thing. So does it
kind of... they chill, right. I was going to say, does it become about like chasing the cats so you're at least got one near you?
No, for 2 reasons. One, the cats will also hurt you. Yeah, like they will swipe at you, which is hilarious.
That's so funny.
And 2, you want to be around when 2 cats get into each other. They get into a Looney Tunes fight of like big ball of dust with claws coming out of it all the time.
That's so funny.
Which causes a much larger area of damage and with a much higher damage rate that if enemies walk through it, they will most likely be killed.
So you want the enemies going through it, which means you need to be near it, but it'll wreck you.
Yeah, I don't think they don't do enough that they'll like kill you really quickly, but like you want to get up, you want to keep some distance. But like the cats, it's random if they walk into each other.
Yeah.
What a interesting character.
So funny.
Yeah.
And you're right, because they really, it isn't that complex in terms of the player interaction. Will was showing me a character where the way you use their weapon is by it like charges up as you move and you have to let go of movement for your like bullets to shoot. And he was like, oh man, this is really messing me around because this is much more active and different in a way that most of the other weapons aren't. Before that, I want to say the most active one is like the knife, which just goes in the direction you're facing. And so that and the whip, you can really focus on where you're looking and what direction you're moving. But the other ones like the rune tracer and the garlic and the Bibles, like I love those area of effect ones where it just becomes about like you are a miasma of death and anything gets close is in trouble. But also there's so many of them. We have to also shout out the sound design. And like there's not that much of it. Like the music's good. The gem pickup sounds are excellent, which is great because you hear them literally tens of thousands of times per match.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, yeah. And so you find the magnet orb pickup, and all of a sudden they're coming in, and it's just ring, ring, ring. You get that moment that happens every run if you get it far enough for some reason, for some unknown reason, where you just get like 6 levels at once, which is always fun. It's like, why is this happening? This is great.
Yeah.
And then you'll pick up the chests, and they open up, and they're like the best loot box animations and like sound design you've ever heard. And you don't know what it's going to be. It's just a single item, and it's going, and you got a little money icon, and it goes bing, and you find out what it is. It's like, oh, that's one of the things I've already got.
Yeah.
And then the first time you get it and it evolves one of your weapons, you're like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, why am I melting everything? It's amazing. And then the first time you get a 3-piece, and it gives you more lights and more colors. It's the most dopamine-rich experience you could get outside of a casino.
And then
then the secret 5, you press the open button, and the game goes bam, 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 boom, and it's going wild, and there's 3 beams of light everywhere, and then, oh no, there's 5, there's gonna be 5 items, what are they? Bam, 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 bam. And it's like, there's nothing better than it. Like, there's nothing better than it this year in all games. It's just pure dopamine, like, but it's not being misused for anything.
It's
like when we talk about games like trying to activate your brain centers to get you to think different things, it's for battle passes, like microtransactions, loot boxes, to get you hooked in, like online stores and nefarious practices and stuff like that, gacha games. And this is just an $8 game on Steam or a free game on your phone now. Like, what the fuck? There's no losing. It's just great.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing you lose is time. And even then, you're having a great time.
Kerry loves the loot box animation, chimes, presentation so much that I remember I remember when I first started playing.
I was thinking about this weekend because I didn't tell Will.
Yeah. So I remember when Kerry first started playing Vampire Survivors, because I was just on Discord once, and his Discord profile said he was playing Vampire Survivors, and I'm like, what the fuck is Vampire Survivors? And so I looked it up, and I was like, oh, this game looks dope as hell. Oh, it's $3. Bought. Like, before Kerry had time to respond with, hey, this game is really good. Yeah. And so then I started playing it, and then like I think we spoke about it a couple of days later, and like, how fucking good this game, blah, 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 blah. And you were like, one of the things.
It slowly became more and more people on the server too. Tom picked it up. Ollie picked it up. Sam picked it up. Like,
and what was exciting was, I remember we were talking about it, and you were saying, oh man, one of the things that I love the most about it is, you know how awesome the loot box animation is? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, and I love that you can't skip it. And I'm like, yes, you can. And you're like, no, you can't. I'm like, you press escape and it skips it. And when I told you that, you were unhappy. You were like,
I was.
You were very unhappy that not even that I told you, just that you could.
That there was an option. Yeah. I thought it was like, they created something so refined and awesome, and they were like, no, you just get to sit with this. Just enjoy it, man. You're like, just take the control away from it. Just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah. And you still can. And you still will.
It does get like most of the way through a run now, or like when I revisit, I let it go for a while. But yeah, there's Will in chat. Oh, you can skip it. You can, man. Right click as well does it. That's what I use. Right click. But like, the animation's so good. Yeah, Will's played 10 hours plus.
You don't need to skip it, but the fact that Kerry was upset that you can skip it is how you know it's a really fucking fun thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, Vampire Survivors is like, it is my number 3. It is a really, really killer game. It is so cheap and on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Like,
the DLC that came out this weekend is also cheap. It's like $3.
Awesome. And like, you know, like they hit 1.0. Like they did that.
Yeah.
They
hit it hard too.
And
there's
their
updates
like
was 12 or something characters in this new DLC they've introduced. Like,
wow, that's amazing.
It's amazing.
And there's like there is progression in the game as well. Like, you know, like there are more kind of quests that you have to do, more challenges to complete, which then unlocks more of the game. It's not
secrets and
it is not like quest lines and direction and stuff, but it is like
dialogue choices.
The game unfolds more and more systems and things for you to do as you go, as well as more game modes and more music and more characters and more there's it's like they nailed the formula and we're like, all right, sick. Like, let's just flesh this all the way out.
Totally.
And it's great. It's really good.
Yep. And I'm so glad they've got that mobile version out now, not just because like more people are going to play it, but because they can stomp all over those clones that have popped up over the last 9 months while they weren't there.
Yeah, I really hope so.
And they can own them. They just own these clones. These little leeches. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so happy for them to win. Oh man,
that's the Vampire Survivors. Is that your number 3 as well? Like, or
yeah, 3, 2. I haven't quite picked where in the mix yet, but yeah, 3, 2.
Are we revisiting it later in the show, or is that the Vampire Survivors segment?
I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Cool. Sweet.
So, shall I go next, or would you like me to? You started that one, but that was shared. Why don't you go next then?
Okay. Norco.
Right.
Norco.
Okay. Number 2 spot goes to Norco, which Jeremy only played 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, this was my game to... Like, there was 3 games I wanted to cram in between now and the end of the year. One of them was this. One of them was Stranger Paradise in a roundabout way that I started playing again. I'm like, actually, like, I'll finish this.
In an accidental way.
Yeah, and the other one was... what's the fucking name of that?
Sonic.
No, Solaris. So
Pentiment.
Nope, not that one. I mean, I would have loved to, but I didn't have the time. I don't remember the name of this survival.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hang on.
AI the Somnium Files?
No, I've got that downloaded though.
That was such a random pull. What the fuck?
Fuck, what the hell? I don't remember. I do not remember. While I'm talking, I'm gonna bring up the Xbox app on my phone.
Yeah. Norco.
I played it 2 weeks ago. This is a really, really wonderful game. It is a point and click adventure game. That might push some people away initially. That genre of game does not always... Signalis is the other one. Signalis. I'll get to that over the New Year's break. Norco being a point and click adventure game will push some people away initially, and I think that those people should really try and get... And I know this sounds crazy, but like should try and get like at least 1/3 of the way through the game. The game itself is only 3 acts. It is not super long. It is about 8 to 10 hours.
Yep.
I think closer to 8. It is hard for me to really get all the way through adventure games as well. There's a handful that I quite like Machinarium. I really, really enjoyed, but I often start them and fall off of them. But this was such a unique game that felt so like in the past we've spoken about games that really committed to themselves. Like this is really, really definitely one. Like they've built this tiny back pocket of this universe which you can see so clearly, and just told a really magnificent story inside this tiny quadrant of this alternate future that they've put together. I haven't written anything for this game yet because it's only been a couple of weeks, but my notes here are: what an incredible experience. It's hard for me to finish adventure games, but this one had me absolutely hooked. The absolute ride this game takes you on, a perfect example of remembering how small the game felt and how much momentum it built all along the way. Really excellent stuff. It has such a journey, like the game takes you on a journey, right? Like, but it also reminds you often where the journey began. With the story taking place across two characters at sort of two different points in time, you do get a lot of context for the main story that's happening over all three acts, whereas the second half of the story is only really happening over the first two. They really capture this space for you to explore and these characters, and you understand why every character feels the way they do in this. And I am talking in vague terms because I do think people should go play it. They just kind of nailed the whole thing. The puzzles were occasionally difficult, but never like, oh, that's so obtuse. How the hell would I have ever figured that out? Like, there was like, oh,
yeah,
like,
not like Monkey Island.
Yeah, no. It's not like, oh, I didn't think of combining these two objects in this specific like combination. It was like oh, I didn't think about this in this way. Or it was a number puzzle that I kept on fucking up the numbers, and then I did get it eventually, and I actually knew what I was doing the whole time without quite realizing, because the game does a really good job at like trailing you along the correct path without you realizing, as well as playing with some really fun mechanics. There's a whole mechanic in this game where you've got like a mobile phone, and there's a couple of apps that you download as the game goes on. One of them is like this AR app that you which when you open it up, it displays over the entire screen, and you have to move it around the screen to try and find these hidden little pictures that are around. And I think they use that to really good use, because a lot of adventure games, there are highlighted objects, and there's everything else. And those highlighted objects are the important things that you look at, and the backgrounds you can kind of largely ignore because that's sort of how those games are built. But
it's like Disco Elysium.
Yeah, in a way. And I think Disco Elysium does a really great job at making the background objects also feel important in a different way, right? Like like you get a whole paragraph about how this thing to look across the bay is broken by some kids or whatever. Yeah, totally. And you never interact with that thing, but it makes it part of the world, but also the world reflects it as well. Norco does a lot of the same thing without you realizing, and in a more abstract way, due to the nature of the art style being this pixel semi-abstract interpretation of a lot of things that is happening. Where when they put those sigils in places, you actually had to think about the place that you were currently in and what was around you and why maybe that place was the way that it is. Brings the whole world together really, really well. Another mechanic that is really fascinating with the phone is that you then get a new button on the side of every piece of dialogue that you get, which is to save that piece of dialogue, because what you were doing is you are recording it as a voice memo. And you need to get certain parts of dialogue in an adventure game, which has just got text on screen as dialogue, and then show it to other people. So you have to really pay attention to what people are saying and how they're saying it. It sounds really complicated, but it's not, because it all feels right at that moment.
Was it you who was saying this, or someone else, that you can kind of jump back to the start of individual scenes of the game? So like, if you need to get more information than you got or whatever, you can just go and do that.
You can do that. That's not what that's for, though. There's never there's never a moment where you've missed dialogue. There are moments where you might have missed dialogue from a scene that you have since left, but it is never sequence.
It's not a time loop thing.
No. It's not sequence breaking. What you're talking about is literally just chapter select on the main menu. It's like, if you want to continue playing the game from any of these moments, you can. But you never need to do that to ever like get the game to function. There is at moments there are multiple paths to the same goal, depending on what you have and haven't done. And they will always give you one of those parts. You can't break the game to the point that you can't progress.
Yep.
It's really striking. If anyone is more curious, I read some passages of text from it last week or so. Like just some standout moments, sort of once again devoid of context, because some of them were kind of later in the game, but when I read them out of context, you don't actually know what I'm talking about, so it's more safe that way. I want to actually go back and play the game really soon, knowing what I know about the game from the beginning, because I want to pay more attention to the beginning of the game again.
And it's got quite well written, all writing, right? The writing's quite excellent.
Yeah, like it's really evocative, it's really striking, and it does a really great job at painting part of the world that you might not have seen, or from a perspective from someone in the world who just has a different perspective to you.
Do you think you'll get more out of the writing as well, knowing what you know? Like,
I will, at the very least, I will get more out of the writing, because I am more inclined to pay attention to every aspect of it at this point, as opposed to a bit of just like, kind of like, because there's
jumping in the deep end.
Yeah, like there's a lot of writing in this game. Not nearly as much like a Disco Elysium, but just like a lot of things have quite a lot of detail, which are like classic adventure game things where if you click on the TV, you can inspect the TV and it'll tell you what commercials the TV is playing. Or what kind of program might be on at the television at the bar. And that's not always relevant to the puzzles that you're completing. And so when you get into the puzzle mindset, you sort of tune out things that are not important to the puzzle. When I think, honestly, one of the game's greatest strengths is like a way to solve the puzzles is to learn about the world, because they give you information that helps with the puzzles, but also just helps you understand the whole town of Norco in a really, really fascinating way.
Right. So would you say some of those puzzles can be like trivia? Like, if you speak to certain people, they tell you about a certain event that they're commemorating on the telly or something?
Yes and no. So an example is very early on when you go to the bar for the first time, one of the characters says like, hey, you should go talk to this guy who just broke into this facility. He'll help you find out a way to get in there. And you're like, well, I wonder, like, I have no idea how to find him. But if you look on the news, you'll find that he has, you find out who that person actually is. And you know that you've actually met that person prior, but you wouldn't have necessarily made that connection if you didn't read the news. And that's important to the puzzle because that tells you who it is. So you can then go talk to them. But what is actually important is why he broke into the thing. And the answer to that is not the answer to a puzzle, but it is an answer to the world. That doesn't allow you to progress through the game at all, but allows you to be in that world in a way that enriches the experience dramatically. And I need to stress how wild the final act is. The entire act 3 is like incredible and so not in the direction that I at least expected, or I can imagine anyone would have expected the game to go in a way that was like, I'm thinking about this game quite a lot since I finished it, and I've been trying to recommend it to as many people as I can. Because holy fuck, it goes in such a direction that I didn't expect them to nail necessarily, because it's such a weird way to go, and it so fucking lands that, and it sticks that landing.
Right.
It's fucking excellent. It is a really excellent game.
Is it on Game Pass?
Yes, that's how I played it on Xbox.
Okay. There you go, everybody.
And on PC. It's worth mentioning there are, as far as adventure game things go, there are two things that are really good about it. One of them is a mind map that I mentioned last time, which keeps track of all of your memories of certain characters as well as important information on those characters. So you can always go back and reference that in a way that feels in-world and it feels like you're imagining how everyone's connected. Second of all, there is a button which highlights every interactable object in the scene.
Oh, I found that in Disco the other day. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and instantly, there is no you need to find it to figure it out. It is like, okay, no, these are the objects you can actually interact with in any given moment. So when you're playing with the controller, you don't need to slowly move your cursor around. You can just hit triangle or Y to find out where those objects are, and you can press X to just immediately cycle through them all the way around.
Great.
Big quality of life, especially for playing games that are like cursor games on a controller.
Where you're not pixel hunting.
Yeah, I would still recommend playing it on PC, I think. Only
As
because
in like mouse and keyboard.
Yeah, I think it's still like that's how the game actually is made. When you're not cycling through objects, you are moving a cursor around with a joystick. But yeah, like I played the whole thing on Xbox, and it's my second game of the year. Like, it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah, totally. Right.
That is Norco.
Norco, everybody. Get it on your download it or buy it. It's definitely time to play it by the sounds of it. I don't think I'd fully grasped how incredible you thought it was. And part of you, I think you did say at some point, oh, I'm going to have more to say about this in a couple of weeks or next week or whatever. So, but
sowing seeds, I was.
Indeed. I think it is good to hear it so high on your list. And why?
Yeah.
My number 2. And I can't believe this is number 2. The winner is no. It's Fortnite.
Right.
And I can't believe it's here. Cannot fucking believe that it's here. And like you could look at our show and say, oh, you've got a Fortnite segment. Of course you were going to get into Fortnite this year. It's like, no, Jeremy started that. I wasn't going to do it. And I was like, oh, well, I downloaded it to play with some people from work one time, and I had a fun enough time. Let me know if you want to play. And played a couple more times, and it was very overwhelming. And then I played a couple more times, and a couple more. And then I started playing it on my own, which I never do with battle royales. And then I kept playing it on my own. And then it would be the thing I would do to like end my weekend. Last thing I would do before the end of the week, Sam goes to bed. What do? I load up Fortnite and some podcasts, and I knock out some quests, and I kill a bunch of bots. I can't believe this is at the top of my list, but for me, what it comes down to is the no-build mode is genuinely quite excellent. I really, 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 really do enjoy it. I find it to be a much more accessible and fun way to engage with the mechanics of Fortnite without having to worry about the build mode. It's too complex. The skill ceiling is too high.
Yeah.
Everyone I come across has already mastered it. It's great not to worry about.
Yeah, it's the I remember I was playing Fortnite on Xbox a bunch, and I went to PC, and I accidentally launched build mode, and I was immediately like, oh no.
Oh no. Yeah,
the build menu.
I haven't. I would probably leave the game, honestly, if I figured out I was in build mode. Just because that's not the game I want to play. It's funny to get to this game. We played it a bit in like when the Switch version came out. That was when a lot of us jumped into it because it was cross play at that point. Like we played a bit. It was interesting, but it was also quite early still. That was still in chapter 1. And then something about the no build mode. I mean, there's even a limited time mode that did so well for them that they made it permanent.
Yeah.
There's something that I think the reason it's here and the reason I'm comfortable putting it in my game of the year is because I feel like no build is different. It is separate, and it's hard with games as a service as well because they are updated. They are brand new each month, each update, each season.
Sure.
But this is such a bespoke, delineated, individual moment. This is Fortnite No-Build. This is why I've played it this year. This is why I got so hooked into it. This mode is why. But I just can't ignore that factor of how I would play it to relax. I'd play it to have fun with friends. I'd play it to just play something while I was hanging out with friends. I'd play it to zone out. I'd play it to be engaged. I play it to have fun. I downloaded another console, and that ended up not going so great because I didn't like the console controls. But I even got that far along with it, though. I was just like, I'm on the couch and I still want to play Fortnite. I'm going to download it on the Xbox. Like, it was just a never-ending sea, pool of just fun experiences. Like the combat feels loose when you're not familiar with it, because it's like raycast shooting. You know what I mean? It's just like put cursor on enemy and click. Like that's all it is. It's not that complex. So you don't have to do that much shot leading unless you've got a sniper, or that much like drop compensation. It's just like shoot the bad guy. Yeah. And it, in that simplicity, it's quite refined, which I really enjoy. I really enjoy how it is just click on them. There was something I was saying earlier this weekend when I was playing it. I played it like 4 hours this weekend, like nonstop. And I loved that when you're I've lost my point. I was playing it this weekend. What was I saying? It was simple.
Would it be easy if I started to do dancing to popular Doja Cat songs?
What's Doja Cat?
Never mind.
Oh, sorry.
I don't have time.
That's all right. I don't mind having no idea what's happening in Fortnite. It's just all the time. Is that like Doge the dog, like Dogecoin? Anyway,
no.
You know, part of what I love about this game, it's the bots. I love that there's just bots to kill in this game, and they're bad shots, and they always shoot at you to let you know that they're there, and then you just kill them. I love that. It's so good. It lets me practice in a way that Apex never lets you. It lets me get better against them in the same arena as real enemies. So sometimes I will best a real enemy, and I will feel that progress, and then I can take out a couple more bots and take their stuff, and like I get to play the game in kind of whatever way I want to. Yeah. And it has to be said that chapter 4, with the update to Unreal Engine 5.1, the introduction of the Lumen and Nanite systems that were introduced first in that Unreal 5 tech demo, like nearly 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Their implementation is out of this world. It is amazing.
It almost doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It's that stuff that they were like talking about. Yeah. I didn't think this would be the first Unreal 5 thing to really, really, really impress me. But man, has it. It has the global illumination, the what is it? The nanite like geometry density thing where you can see like incredibly dense 3D objects of like pebbles and rocks on the ground and like tree bark and whatever. And it all just runs. It's great. On the new consoles, on the PC, it's awesome. It's so cool. It makes you really... This is the kind of thing that it's like, oh, this is where the future of ray tracing lives. And this is where the future of the next gen consoles lives. Is in systems like this.
Yeah, it's in like real world isn't a correct way to describe it, but when people say a real world application, they mean commonplace application, right? You know, having a ray tracing in a game like this, you know, it doesn't need it, but is it welcome? It makes all the environments feel so much more real in a way, which is hilarious because the game is not a game that looks like it's reality. It doesn't.
No, it's a cartoon basically.
Yeah, 100%. But you buy it more like you buy a new Pixar movie, right? You know, like it feels like a realistic setting.
Yeah, there's a fidelity to it.
Yeah, which is fascinating because that's not been something I've said, oh, Fortnite needs.
Yeah.
And yet it just works.
Yep.
And, you know, that has taken a great deal of, you know, artistic design put it through, right? You know, like it's not like that. It's not like they've just turned on a system and it looks better.
Oh yeah, it's not by mistake. There is so much hard work that's gone into this.
And
absolutely.
you can tell because they ended the season early. You know, that was a decision that they made to don't let it get to 10 whatevers to make
we're not going to wait another year and a half to get this update out, but we need to close the servers for a couple of days.
Yeah, and the idea that they have gone through, and again, like I want to make it very clear as well that it also doesn't just look like a, you know, when people say like it doesn't look like stock Unreal. It's looks
it's not like Unreal
thing.
Tournament, you know, back in 2007. Yeah.
They've done an incredible job, and also like the game is fun, you know, like I returned with the season of vibing or whatever because I enjoyed the art direction they were going through with, you know, pastel colors and the cool hippie chick on the front. I was like, yeah, like all of this stuff I like this. I like the feel of this, you know, it was a summer beach season, you know, there was
plus you could get Darth Vader.
And then Darth Vader showed up. I'm like, well, look, I can't let my boy sit high and dry. So I jumped in and I picked him up and got all the way through. And then, you know, I didn't play as much of the season following, but that wasn't for any particular reason. I just didn't have the time. But yeah, like we both fell back into it. Well, both really, really fell into it for the first time because I never really fell into it.
Yeah, it felt like falling into it properly for the first time.
Yeah.
Not just dabbling.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the weirdest gaming experience. When I said before that, like when I was playing it with friends for the first time, and I got really overwhelmed. The amount of random anime properties that I've never seen before in my life, jumping through windows, smashing through walls, obliterating me in 2 shots, and then going on to kill half the lobby is like, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. I'm so confused.
And that's just Dragon Ball.
Yeah, right. It's just what that game is. It just is. This weekend they've got the My Hero Academia event going on, and the amount of they've got this event. It's Deku's Power Blast or whatever, and you got 3 of them. And when you use it, you just hear this anime scream across the whole map, and it's scary. And you hope you're not being pointed at with it, and sometimes you are, and there's really not much you can do about it if you are.
Do you know who All Might is?
Vaguely. From pop figurines at school, he's the teacher, but he gets weak, and when he's not weak, he's really big. He's like Superman, but then he gets really weak.
Right. Okay.
Why?
I'm just curious.
That's what I know. He's in there. He's in the game in his 2 forms. He can transform, which is cool. Deku's there, which I always read as like Deku Tree, like Zelda.
Yeah, it's not that.
I was when I was playing and we were sitting on chat this weekend, I was just saying, man, this game's so fucking weird, as I say to myself every time and to someone else if they'll listen to me. And like I remember I said on the podcast about how I was playing and so I was like, I'm going to bed. I was like, great, I just killed a banana. But then this weekend I was like, man, this game's so weird. And B's like, why? I was like, oh, there's just something about all this mix of properties. And I was like, yeah, look, here's Goku dancing to blinding lights while he's got like a reindeer on his back because it's a Christmas event and holding like a toy soldier pickaxe. And then over there is Darth Vader who's like doing the gritty or something. Like none of it makes any sense at all, and it doesn't matter. It's just fun.
Yeah. It's the horrid scene from Ready Player One where all the properties run like at the villains, but it feels better than that.
Yeah, they're not there for that moment.
Yeah.
It is weird, but it is a really similar equivalent because it's not, because Fortnite, as much as they say it, it's a game first before it's a metaverse. And
yes,
this isn't, you could buy, the Iron Giant so you can like go get a beer with him or whatever. It's just so you can have a good skin in Fortnite. Not yet.
Not yet.
And I think when we get through the looking glass, it'll feel a bit different, but we're not there yet. Yeah. It's just here because it makes me happy and I like it.
Good.
So much. It's what I actively do because it's fun.
So, we've got our number ones.
We do have our number ones by process of elimination, but Jeremy, I want to hear you say what yours is.
My game of the year is Neon White.
Hell yeah, it is. That's so cool.
It is so cool. I think about that game a lot.
Have you gone back to it?
Not a little while. Not a little while. I got to perfect score in every level.
Wow,
But
right.
I hadn't done all the collectible stuff, so I haven't got the true ending or whatever. But there's like there's an additional ending you can get if you 100% the game.
Yeah, get all the cans of beer and whatever.
Yeah, and I'm at that stage where I can do that in a single play session. I just haven't had the time.
Yeah.
I wanted to get more. I wanted to get other games in before I went back to this, but I haven't played this game since, I can tell you exactly, or almost exactly. I haven't played this game since July.
July, yeah. So pretty close to when it came out, relatively.
Last played July 19th.
Yep.
Haven't
My last time I played it was June 23rd.
I've not touched it since, and yet it has persevered. It has persevered
Quietly.
Not quietly, actually.
Stoically.
Quite loudly, actually. Neon White fucks. I'm gonna quickly get through what my kind of half-written article is for this, so I can. Because I think part of this is better said, which means I'm going to have to rewrite it, because it turns out it's not a said article, it's a written article, Jeremy. The name of it is Speedrun Heaven, because it is that in its entirety.
Yep.
It is a game that...
Thematically and mechanically.
Exactly, right? Neon White is a first-person shooter, speedrunning platformer,
Card game
where you will the goal of every level is to defeat all the enemies and get to the end. That is what you'll be doing in every single level. There are different guns that you can collect which are floating around the levels in the form of cards. You can fire the guns with a left click, or you can burn those cards and gain a platforming ability depending on what card you've picked up. They are in the same location. Every time you restart a level, they are the same cards and the same enemies in the same spots. Every single time you start a level, the level is identical to itself every time you restart. There is learning to be done. There is speedrunning learning to be done. There is efficiencies to be gained. And
leaderboards to conquer.
Yes, and there is times to beat. Having seen the main story and aced every level, I think I'm comfortable giving Neon White a 9.5 out of 10 score. The speedrunning feels exhilarating, uncomplicated, intelligent, and perfect. 95% of the levels are excellent. There's a handful I didn't enjoy due to mechanics being used in a way I didn't really find fun or there was too much waiting involved, but for the most part, they're still really good. The story ends up being really fun as well. The character dynamics and moments really shine towards the end. Interesting perspectives that only get amplified by the ticking clock of Judgment Day, which is the entire crux of the game, is that there's Judgment Day coming, and all the characters are reacting differently to that, and some of them die, and it's a whole thing. The art direction of this game is also really nuts. There's a part where the main character's name is Neon White, and all the other characters are different colors. White is talking to Yellow. In the section of the game that's called the Glass Ocean, which is the opening section, which is just endless reflective floors of water and vaporwave structures ahead. The whole game looks like that, but specifically this part is called the Glass Ocean. They're standing in the Glass Ocean, and Yellow remarks that, quote, "the vibes are immaculate." And I think that's a perfect descriptor for the whole game, honestly.
That and Hive.
Yes. Every level of Neon White is like a perfectly crafted obstacle course, each with the exact same goal: kill all the enemies and make it to the end. Each time you enter a level in Neon White, your job is simple. Traverse the hollow architecture and make your way to the finish line after defeating all of the enemies, shooting, slashing, and dashing your way through a Victroid album cover while Machine Girl's amazing soundtrack plays. It's a rewarding and exciting experience.
Nice.
And not why Neon White is on my game of the year list. Doing it all over again for a second time is because every single time you beat a level, that's half of the game.
Yeah.
The second half of the game is doing it again because you know the level then. Like you've been here. You go to this school. You know where the enemies are. You know where the guns are. You know what the abilities are. And you need to skip as much of it as you possibly can.
Yeah.
In the most creative fucking ways possible.
As fast as you can.
As fast as you can while still hitting all the objectives. It is unfucking believable. It feels amazing every single fucking time.
Yeah.
Getting there,
it's pretty...
go on.
I was just going to say, like, it's pretty amazing that if you don't know, this is... I can't remember if we said this in our previous episode or this one, but this is Ben Esposito's next game after Donut County, which is incredible.
Yeah. Like a hilarious, like arcadey-esque, like silly fun game, not unlike
that comedy game.
Yeah.
And this is like it's the gamified version of speedrunning, but that would already existed in games, but that was always like people's own fun that they made. And they used it within engines and frameworks and mechanics that weren't meant for it. And this is turning it into a game.
Yeah.
This is making it like the speed run factory, it's the speed running game, which I think in and of itself is a quite specific and singular feat to pull off, and it's quite excellent. I think.
Like I've written down here, finding efficiencies in Neon White is one of the most exhilarating experiences in games I've had all year. Like it is such a fucking joy to get to the end of a level in Neon White, see you've beaten your time by a second, and know that you fucked up halfway through.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, oh, well, I didn't do that
I can do that better.
Yeah, I didn't do this part right, but I did this part right. So I can do that. But then if I can see something over there and I think I can get there, but if I might not, but I'll try. And so you walk over there quite slowly and you create a shortcut in your brain.
Yep.
But because you took the shortcut slowly, you then because you took getting to the shortcut slowly, you then are like, oh well, let me speed run my way to my shortcut. Oh, I wrote my time down by like 5 seconds. Great, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But still on the way there, I didn't really do this part as perfect as I'd like.
Yep.
So what if I just fucking did it again?
Jeremy, can I ask you,
Yeah.
Were you looking for those efficiencies when you picked it up for the first time? Were you aware that was part of the loop?
I understood that there was a time trial element to it.
Yep. Me too.
But
you weren't aware that the levels were there to be broken, right? The levels were there to be manipulated and tweaked and toyed with.
No, and I didn't know that until about 3 or 4 chapters in. Mostly because you start to break those movement mechanics later by mistake sometimes, where you're like sometimes you'll just like right click and you'll burn everything at once, but you realize you might have actually made a combo where you launched yourself really far just by the nature of like right click a bomb at your feet and jump at the right moment so that the bomb like double launches you out and then dash across the largest empty space you've seen in your life to then skip 90% of the level. And you might make it to the goal, but you haven't killed all the enemies all the way there. And so then you have to try and look with the weapons that you have while you're on your way.
While you're flying.
And it's like, do I have enough bullets in my gun to kill all of these enemies at this moment? Yes. Will I fuck up the shot? Maybe. Can I spare double clicking really quickly to make sure I hit that shot every time? Maybe. oh fuck, why didn't I just go under the bridge as opposed to over at the beginning? That saves.
Yeah.
Like there is so every level is a puzzle. Like it's an obstacle course, but it's also like this wonderful geometry that they've put together for this really wonderful little like American Ninja Warrior course for you to do, only for you to find a way around the whole thing.
Totally.
But that is some of the most rewarding shit.
Yeah. I remember some of the first times when I was thinking, I think I could do this.
Yeah.
And I did that in the first world. I've only played the first world because I got stuck in the time trial. My problem was I goaded you on Discord and we got to the final level of that world and I couldn't beat your time and I couldn't figure out how to fix it. And that it frustrated me too much. But in that first world, there's a moment where I could there's like a spiral staircase going up kind of a thing. And I realized at some point I could just like jump to the middle, jump to the top and just do the shooting at the same time. It was like, oh man, that is wild. What about this? And what about that? And like that feeling of discovering that possibility was amazing. It was like, oh, they want me to do this.
Yeah. And they allow you to do that. And like the game is built around knowing that you will do this for every single level, including there's a couple of boss battle levels in this as well.
Right.
And you're doing it in there as well.
Right.
Thankfully, in those levels, they're not the most fun to go through multiple times because they are like boss fights. The times to hit like ace rank on those are a fair bit more lenient.
Right. I guess because they know there's much less under your control.
Yes. But fuck. Also, like, I need to just directly say that I listen to the soundtrack all the time. The Neon White soundtrack.
So your shit.
Like, yeah, but like the Neon White soundtrack like ended up on my fucking Spotify Wrapped, right? Like and I only got it halfway through the year. It is really, really excellent. I don't know, like I just like it's my game of the year.
It sure is, buddy.
It's also like really quite endearing a lot of the times. Like they go through the story of a lot of all the characters in the game, and there's a lot of heart in a lot of those characters. ProZD.
I was worried if that was where the 0.5 came away from it for you, and I'm glad you were more positive on it than others were. I just enjoyed it.
The 0.5 was just because some of the levels I don't enjoy really playing as much. And like the game would be a 10 if they were cut. And there's not even that they are bad levels. It just means that it's not perfect. And like I think the story is good, but like I'm not clamoring to replay the story. I'm excited to go and get the final ending or whatever. But what I want is more levels. Mm-hmm. I want more Neon White. Give me some more Neon White. I want to play Neon White. Maybe I just play Neon White again.
Do you think he's going to do that for you? Do you think you're going to get it?
I hope it's one of two things. I hope either it's more levels, or I hope there's a bespoke competitive playlist or something. Something this game would really, really benefit from would either be like a competitive speedrun playlist, or maybe a way that I can see my friends' ghosts or something, which I go back and forth on, right? Because I feel like that would spoil perhaps some shortcuts you could find. Because sometimes
yes and no.
Yeah, because sometimes the pleasure is like I didn't realize I could jump to that ledge.
Well, yeah, and also remember, like they show you like par times. They give you ghosts that you can play against.
Yeah, but the like when you get to the point, like I tend to blow the par times out of the water.
Sure, but even that final one, they can still show you something you hadn't seen before. At least I guess for me in those first levels.
Yeah. Maybe if they do like a ghost that is occasionally showing up, but like not always. And so they can like give you like a flash of someone over here and a flash of someone over there, and you look all the way over there, you're like, how the fuck did someone end up all the way back there?
Yeah.
like a sprinkling of a like, hey, you can actually make it back here.
There's more here.
Yeah,
or maybe like. Yeah, maybe like the ending can like flash like a bright purple when that other ghost would have gotten there, and you're like, wait, what? I'm like 10 seconds behind, and this has been flawless.
Yeah, or maybe show like remnants of someone else using an ability in the sky somewhere or something like that.
Yeah, or it could even be simpler. It could just be like Obi-Wan Jez finished here, like at this time. Like it could just like pop up, and you'd be like, "What?"
yeah. Like have like the Mario Kart, like like Jeremy's time, all these times.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And you're like, well, if I'm here and he's already finished, then I'm doing something very wrong.
Yeah, I'm missing something entirely, a whole new thing. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. No, it is so good. And like I said before, this is the game that I wish I got to that I didn't. There's a lot that I didn't get to, but this is the one that I'm sad I didn't play more of. Because I did love it. I was just frustrated by it, and like I think I was just in a bad mood for it when I played it the first time, which is not the game's fault. Yeah, what a game.
Yeah,
it's so happy to play another thing from Ben Esposito, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and I remember when it was announced, I was like, "Oh, the card game! Like, I don't like that." And then it's my game of the year. And like, look, it's not a card game. It's just a
shooter.
Yeah, but like it's a platformer, and they use cards as abilities. But like, fuck, is it good?
So good, so good. Well, there's only one thing left, and two things. But for me, only one thing left, which is my game of the year, which is Elden Ring. And I really wasn't sure of this for a minute. And this goes back to what I was talking about with the honorable mentions. This goes back to something I played for work, right? Which is a very fortunate position to be in. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to humble brag. I'm not trying to be oh woe is me. I'm just trying to give it to you how it is, which is, how my brain interpreted these games.
You humble brag to me when you got the code.
Yeah, but like that's different.
But you should have.
Yeah, that's because you like that stuff. It's because you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's fun.
So this was a game that, like I said before, it recaptured that Breath of the Wild exploration in a way that nothing has, I think, since 2017. While also being a brand new FromSoft game, which is sick.
Yeah.
Revisiting that kind of traditional Dark Souls combat, it feels very much like the most refined Dark Souls experience in terms of gameplay, in terms of swords, magic, equipment. You're not worrying about equipment degradation anymore. You're not you get fast travel from the start. Like it feels like one of the most, dare I say it, one of the most accessible Dark Souls games. But it's not Dark Souls, it's Elden Ring. And part of that is because not only can you do things in any order because it's open world, but it's also because there are so many different ways for you to have an effective character. And I know that's the case in all of the other games, but it feels like they aren't a secret. It's like you don't like if you want to build a faith character, it's not that hard. If you want to build a mage, it's not that hard. If you want to build a character who can wield two-handed greatswords at the same time, it's not that hard.
I did that.
Yeah, I did that too. I didn't for the long time. I used a maul blade. I used a twin blade.
Right.
And then towards the end, I swapped, and I had Bloodhound's Fang, which you can get early in Limgrave. And I had another boss weapon, which they were curved great swords.
Right.
So they were like Dex great swords. And that's what I beat the game with those. And like that's awesome that you can have that much flexibility, and it can suit you. You can be at range, you can be close, you can respec much more easily than any other game in the past.
Oh yeah.
While not not just giving it to you. There's no respec button that Round Table hold or anything like that, but it's pretty close to that. It's just kind of like a different location, a bit of the way in the game once you beat one boss. Yeah. Like, so
it might as well have been at Round Table hold after a time.
Yeah, exactly. With just like limited uses because it needs a currency, but you go to one place and you get like 10 of them. Okay. All of that to say, I think this game was best for me when I was exploring and discovering stuff that, it's that kind of open world loop that you don't necessarily enjoy that much, Jeremy. That stuff that doesn't bring you to loving a game, but it does for me. I love that shit. I love feeling rewarded every time. Like, oh, it looks like there's a village up there. Let me go up there. There is literally something there for you to find. There's a new type of enemy. There's a new type of spell. There's a map fragment.
And I'll say I loved it in this game more than I loved it in any other type of this game.
Right, which is a boon for Elden Ring. That's a mark of how well they did it.
Yes, 100%.
I had that experience quite sparingly throughout my game because I had to have a set path. It was like, all right, I've done this. What's the next most search way to go? It was like, oh, well, people are probably going to go to this boss next after the one you just covered. So go do this one. And this is from someone who had played further ahead than I had. It was funny because I had access to the game like 2 weeks before it came out. And within 5 days, everyone was well ahead of me. Everybody. I was working on this game for 2.5 months. And, it felt like it towards the end. So because of that, I didn't get to deviate. I didn't get to really get too distracted. And I didn't get to find the legacy dungeons myself either and do them in whatever order I found them in or whatever order I found them easiest in. And that, I do think for me, that did take away from a decent part of the experience. I think I would have been over the moon if I got to experience that whole thing for myself. That being said, despite the fact that I feel this way, that I feel like I haven't had the proper experience or the full enjoyment that I might have had otherwise, what a game. I was on the fence. I was doing the dishes before. I was thinking about it. At the same time, I'm thinking about, is Fortnite my game of the year? At some point, while I'm thinking about this, while I'm having this discussion with myself in my head, I hear the menu music, which is just in my head. Like no one's playing it on a speaker or whatever. But it's been something that people have said like, wow, best music and it's just the title screen. And I've always been like, I don't know. I feel like it's a bit too much for the loading screen. It's like, I hear it too often. It's so bombastic and I'm just on the loading menu. I kind of just wish it was just not there.
Yeah, I remember you complaining about it.
Yeah. It comes back in the game, and when it comes back and it's its own thing, like in like the second final boss fight, it's awesome and it's more epic and it's beefed up and it's more orchestrated and the choir is more intense and there's these low brass notes and it really goes for it. And that's part of why I feel more positively about this, because it's like, I'll remember that moment. I now have that attachment to that moment with that music. I get to the end and I remember the beginning, and that's pretty cool. But yeah, I still even then, I'm like, the menu music, everyone's so, I don't know. And it literally just like 6 hours ago when I was trying to make this list for this podcast, I'm like, man, that song really is that good. And it's not just that one. It's the song that plays for Melania and Margit the Fell. And the song that plays, and as much as I hate it for the Godskin Apostles, the ones with the big like white saggy robes, I find it really intense and it makes me really stressful. But then this music group who I listen to release a lot of lo-fi music. They release the only Elden Ring lo-fi cover I've ever heard, and it's that really intense, stressful song. And I'm listening to it, I'm like, and it's a bit chiller because it's it's lo-fi. It's not an opera like it is when you're fighting in the cathedral in Volcano Manor, and I'm like, fuck, this is pretty good. So the music's amazing, and then these bosses, Jeremy. You remember the first time you were in Caelid for the festival of it's not Radagon, who is it? The festival of Radahn's festival.
Yeah.
And you warp to the other side of the lake onto the battle zone where this war general driven to madness by Melania's Scarlet Rot, who's been roaming the fields for years and years.
Do you know why he has gravity magic? You know how he's got gravity magic? That's like his whole thing.
Yeah. It's not because of Leonard, his horse.
It is.
No. But he uses gravity magic for his horse. Is that why he got it?
He uses it so he doesn't crush Leonard.
Yes, that's right. So he can stay on his faithful steed, who is emaciated.
Yes.
Yeah, no, he's using it constantly. That's right.
Leonard. I love
Leonard the horse underneath gigantic Radahn. And you run through that. You run through this decrepit battlefield, and he's sniping you with gravity arrows the size of buildings. And you can summon the 7 different people who are part of the festival, all wanting their chance to take down Radahn. And you can do that as many times as you want as you're not punished. It's like a set piece moment. And you can all there. One's a healer. One's a gigantic jar. One's a wolf man. Like there's a few other people, and they all have their moment, and they all want to try, and you can summon them again. And Radahn goes into the sky, and you're like, what just happened? And then he's a meteor, and he crashes into the earth, and he brings the nighttime because he controls the stars. And then when you kill him, it creates a meteor shower because he's been controlling the stars to keep the fates in his hands, because there was something written about when the stars fall or something. So he's been controlling them, and he dies. You finally kill him, and then a shooting star falls into the earth and crashes into the original opening area. And then you can go through the world and find a whole buried city. There's a Renala boss fight in the dreaming sequence, and Melania as well. You can never forget Melania, and all of the bosses in the the last gauntlet towards the end, which is a good like 3 kind of 3 dungeons kind of a feel.
Yeah.
Those moments are amazing. The Legacy dungeon design is amazing in Stormvale and in Volcano Manor and in Raya Lucaria. Like all of those traditional Souls dungeon areas, they're great. The open world feeling is amazing. There's some recycled content in, a la the shrines in Breath of the Wild. You get the catacombs over and over. You get those warrior tombs and all that kind of stuff. There is that kind of thing, but they do a good job of making them as interesting as they can be between each one. And at the end of the day, for me, I think it's the easiest Souls game to continue to like and to continue to enjoy and to continue to push through. And that doesn't necessarily mean too much, because I've beat one of them before in the past. But like it being so easy to continue to play is awesome. It's so fun. It feels like I'm not fighting to get to the end. I'm not pushing myself. It was a joy to get to the end of this game and to do the optional bosses like Moog and Melania. It's so good. The open world, the exploration, the bosses. I'm trying to think. There was something I missed out. My favorite boss encounter is still Margit the Fell Omen.
Yeah, right.
Who is very early. He's like the first real boss, right?
Yeah.
Or like the first required boss. And I love his fight because of when you come up to it, how much you might have played beforehand. If you're there too early, you'll get wrecked. If you haven't done it, especially if you haven't played a Souls game.
Yeah.
He's the first big step to clear. He's your first hurdle to be like, look, this is the game now. You've learned how to defeat soldiers and like demi-humans or whatever they call them and gigantic crabs. But now you have a guy who's not going to fuck around and he's going to hurt you. And that fight at that difficulty, at that stage in the game with your capacity and your knowledge of the game, it's the perfect challenge. I loved it so much. It had me going, I don't know if I can do this. And then I start getting better and I think I could do it. And then I do it. And it just, I don't know. It was such a lasting feeling that I didn't get from most of the other bosses, honestly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this is an immaculately designed game. Not perfect. Maybe a 10 for a masterpiece if we want to go into scales and all of that. But, no game's perfect, even the 10s. It's got its issues. But I think it's the easiest FromSoft game to love for me so far. I do love this game. Yeah. It's the kind of thing I realize it more as I'm saying it. I didn't get to a document in the way you did earlier in the week, and how when we were doing our awards, and it was like, you know what, I am annoyed that The Last of Us 2 isn't there, even though I've already owned it. Like it's that kind of thing. It's like saying it out loud and having to articulate it really cements it for me.
Yeah. Like I had to go through a lot of the similar feelings with this game because it was lower on my list until a couple days ago. Because I had to remember it. You know, I'd not played it in a while. I just remember the feelings that I was playing. Like the feelings I was feeling when I was playing it, right? Like I went back through some of our DMs from when I was playing it for the first time, because I remember there was a conversation we had where I was like the game like I was like lost and confused because it was pulling from every different Souls game all at once.
Yeah.
Intentionally, and so like there was like a little moment where like I didn't quite know how to approach it because
you were trying to fit it into your frameworks, right? Is this Souls? Is this Sekiro? Is this Bloodborne? Do I jump to avoid attacks? Do I
and I think because like I had gone through like over the past couple of years I have gone through like a tour de Souls, if you will, where I've beaten Sekiro, I've beaten Bloodborne, I've beaten Demon Souls, I've beaten Dark Souls 1, I've played Dark Souls 2, and I've played Dark Souls 3. Like I've tried them all and beaten more than half of them.
I've fallen in love with them, right?
Yeah, no, like I've become intimately familiar with Souls. You know, we'll get to the end of this, but Bloodborne is the game of the year. It is a foundation that continues to be put in new lenses, or looked at in new lenses, and put in new settings and applied to different genres, and it all works. It always really works. But yeah, like I think for this one, for me, like, you know, thus is the nature of it becoming an open world game. You can't have an open world game and a linear game at the same time. Like those just don't work. That's not how that works. And if you did, that would be bad, maybe. And so like so you have to have certain trade-offs for certain things. The Stormwind. Stormvale. Like Stormvale Castle was really cool. I really, really liked that. That was a really cool classic, you know, Souls dungeon. Whereas I didn't like Ray Lucaria.
Oh yeah, you hated Ray Lucaria. That was funny.
Yeah. I hated it, and not because I didn't think it was designed very well as a level, but I wasn't a huge fan of the size of it, and I also wasn't a huge fan of, just for the most part, the enemies that were there. A lot of them,
mages.
Yeah, like they felt not fun to fight. Like the archers are not fun to fight when you go to Anor Londo.
Right.
I was just like, they felt almost identical to me. Where I was like, oh, I just gotta fucking dodge.
Yeah, it's a bit
bastard.
Cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I got through that part, and I'd continue on and did, you know, Caelid, and did other areas, and went down the well and go to this area and that. And there was a moment where I went to I made it up to the dragon plateau or whatever it's called at the top, and that dragon fucking comes all the way like out of nowhere, and you just have to fight it in this area that was like completely unexpected and awesome, and then it fucks off, and that was not an actual boss fight, but it was like teasing you, and that was really sick. And then I think the everything is an option for you kind of lost me in a way, because I respect. I was like, I'm losing momentum a little bit. Let's respec and try a new build. Like, let's see what works here. And then I got into like a respec rut of, like nothing feels quite right. Like I don't quite know what I like, not even what the game wants me to do, but I don't quite know what feels correct. Yeah. And I respect and that I respect to my old build, but it didn't. It maybe didn't quite feel right anymore, or wasn't as familiar as I hoped it would be. And then it stopped pulling me along, and I started to push into it, and I started to push further and further, and like I started to see more of those like hidden walls in a way. Which is why I think I stopped loving it. Knowing bosses again and again, I'm like, oh, okay, it's one of these in the dungeon again.
Yeah.
Except though, there's like it sounds like a Pro ZD skit. It's like, oh, this is cool monster, and into the dungeon. And it's like, okay, let's go to the next dungeon. Oh, it's a cool monster, in the dungeon, but now there's two of them. Like,
yeah.
It's like, oh, but this one
Third tree burial watchdog.
Yeah, but like, oh,
second.
But this one does poison now, and oh, this one is twice as fast, but this one is weaker. You know, like it sounds like it sounds like a bit. And that's that's not even necessarily a bad thing. But it for me, it was the like, maybe if I didn't get to the end,
the game.
Yeah, but maybe even if I got to the end of this and there wasn't a boss, that might have been better for me.
Right. Right.
Especially with how quickly you start to level up towards the end. It's just like, there are so many fucking levels.
So many levels, and you really start to. There's a strange funneling effect that happens in Elden Ring, because I feel like they let you out with quite a wide bore. Like you can kind of go in so many different ways at the start.
Oh yeah.
And then it really funnels after Lanedale, after the capital.
Yeah.
Like that is so linear, and it's like a good like 10 to 15 hours of the game, depending on how much you struggle with the bosses.
Yeah.
Which is quite a I don't know. It's almost like you could forget about how linear it is because of how much other content there's in the game. But there really isn't that much more to do once you get past Lanedale. Like you get to some of the new areas, and there's a tomb here and a secret dragon fight over there. But in comparison to Limgrave and the Weeping Peninsula and Caelid, like these areas are sparse and they're just there for you to get through, and then it's the end.
And getting in and out of mainline progression, because you might not be strong enough, then you got to go out and do something, and then you feel like you're kind of like
or if you get distracted.
Yeah, well, like distracted, I think is maybe separate, but like being required to go out of mainline progression, I think was not fun. I think having to leave and like the requirement to go do something else to become stronger, and then having to come back and go like, oh, but like I kind of want to progress with skill, and I know that you can progress with skill, but the game was putting you at a consistent a disadvantage if you weren't in a way. And
yeah,
like,
I'm trying to think about your order too, because like I played in like the order, right? So like I was really like just pretty linearly scaled with the like in terms of my level with the difficulty of each challenge as I got to it. And I think you missed a dungeon between like the order of things between Lanedale and Radahn, because you didn't go to Volcano Manor, did you?
Yeah, no, I did.
You did? Did you get to the boss?
I don't know, because I went the roundabout way, because I got kidnapped by one of the walking tomb things.
Yeah.
And then I got there kind of early. I got there really early, and then I accidentally found what is now not like I didn't discover this, but I went down a speedrunner's path by fire walking all the way through certain areas and healing at right moments.
Like that's funny. Wow. I just like Dark Souls.
Yeah. I just did that that was my main quest path. Because I didn't really have a whole lot of options, because all the enemies were really like above me. And like that's fine, like, you know, getting thrown into areas where the enemies are too strong because you've accidentally found something early, like that's fine. But I didn't have a whole lot of other options for that area, and so then I would leave and come back, and I remembered the area kind of, but didn't really remember where I was going because there was too much maybe happening. The festival of Radahn, I think for me was the highest point in the game, only because it felt like a specific like, hey, no, come here, do this thing.
Yeah.
Like we've called it, and the world will react to this call. You need to come and do this fucking thing.
Yeah, they're kind of there are a few options for you if you want to keep moving forward, and they are quite specific.
And it made a lot of sense as well, like thematically, but also like game pace structurally. It was like, yeah, like this is now your checkpoint. Like you need to now overcome this boss. You can go somewhere else and become stronger, so you can do this better. But like you are not losing because you're not strong enough right now. You're losing because you don't actually know how to do the fight yet, because you haven't done it enough. Yeah, it's a lot. It's maybe the most video game.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely had that feeling of like, I really want to play this game again with another build. I want to try with maybe like daggers or like a sorcery build or something. Like it's got that pull.
I think I felt that less in this game, only because respecking is such an option. There was a weird, like, kind of like, actually, if I wanted to respec, I could right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't... You can do anything, therefore, like, what is right?
Yeah. And
nothing is right.
And so I was paralyzed by indecision. Or paralyzed by the amount of decisions I could make that I ended up not being able to make any of them correctly.
Yeah, no, it's funny. And that's what happens when it's open, when they leave you to it. In comparison to something like Dark Souls, where like maybe you miss an optional area, but like doesn't actually matter. Like you the next thing is this, and the next thing is this.
Yeah.
Even Demon Souls has like an open structure, but like it's 5 linear spokes that you could choose at any time, rather than like a world.
Yeah. Yeah, and they do a great job at making you able to get through them one after another, and giving you an option of, well, if you're getting stuck here, maybe just try one of the others. Whereas like they give you that here as well, but it's like the lines are so much more blurred, right? Like you don't know where those dividing walls are when you are trying to find a path to get down.
Yeah. Well, and the offer always stands, Jeremy. If you want me to give you the linear path, if that will help focus you a bit more, maybe that might help.
But I want that from the game.
Oh, I get that.
Yeah, going through with a guy would be fine, but like it's like I think I want to feel like the game is directing me enough consistently, or at least enough to feel content with the decisions that I'm currently making.
Right. Yeah,
which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, my game of the year. I didn't know if it would be. I didn't know, and I am excited for when you do get to go back to it.
I was right. It was your game of the year.
You were right. I think you got.
I just didn't get Fortnite.
Right.
I didn't get Fortnite.
Fortnite. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I got yours right, but not Neon White. I didn't get Neon White at the top. I got Vampire Survivors at the top.
Yeah.
So the Minimap game of the year, we went back and forward on whether we would do this. Looking at our lists, Jeremy, I think there's only one answer.
I want to make the case.
Pardon?
I want to make the Neon White case, but I am willing to accept Elden Ring, but I want to make the Neon White case.
I have a third option.
It's not Fortnite.
No, it's not. It's Vampire Survivors. And this is from a more mathematical point of view, right?
Yeah.
This is the one that was sort of
interesting.
This is like the most. It was like, because Elden Ring's high on my list but low on yours. Neon White's high on your list but it's not even on mine. Yeah. Vampire Survivors is in our top 3.
Yes,
for both of us.
Yes.
That's the short of it. I'd love to hear your case for Neon White.
Okay, just before that, to touch on Vampire Survivors, I think Vampire Survivors is a really excellent game, and I don't know if it is exciting enough to be our game of the year.
Exciting in what way, Jeremy?
I don't remember moments, I think.
Right, okay.
Like
you're not thinking back to that one, like the first time you played this character, or
no.
Yeah,
And
like it's just kind of like a sea of matches.
It's a sea of awesome. Like I love every moment I've played of Vampire Survivors. But it is a pool. It is a blur.
It's indistinct.
Yeah, and like I can go back to Vampire Survivors at any moment and go and have the best time. But I don't think that I am having a year in games defining time. I think that Vampire Survivors is okay. I'll put it this way. I think Vampire Survivors is exactly the sum of its parts. It is all really solid all the way throughout, and it is not. It is not anything more than what it is giving to you. If you know what I mean.
Right. There's not much room for maybe emergent storytelling or aha moments, or
like not even like not even specifically like more bespoke things that we look for in a Hitman 3 or in a game that might be a really special game to us as a thing that we think about. When we think about Spelunky 2, when we think about
or Outer Wilds
or maybe Inscription. There are moments in those games that are like really special moments that sometimes are aha moments, but sometimes they are just realizations. Like they are not like, oh my god, I'm shocked. They are like, oh, I see the thing as more than what it is giving to me right now. I think Vampire Survivors is so foundational. It is a brick.
Yeah.
It is
like raw mechanics.
It is fucking solid all the way throughout. And it's still a brick.
I can see the case for that. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
It just is. It is what it is.
Yeah. And that is fucking good.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. Not at all. It is why it is very high up in our Game of the Year lists. And it is also why it is neither of our games of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny.
Vampire Survivors, the brick of 2022.
What a brick of a game.
Oh, what a brick.
The best brick you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be Elden Ring. I don't think with how you've received it, it could be our Minimap Game of the Year. It is so technically accomplished. It is so well designed. We can see its quality 100%, right? It's there.
So like I think it actually still can be.
Okay.
Like in the same way that I think if you had pointed to in the same way that while it is not even nearly your favorite, you could see Mario Odyssey being the best Mario game. Remember when we did that? Remember when
I can see why some people might think that, yes.
You know what I mean, though? When we did that ranking, at the end of the day, when we ranked the Marios...
It was 64 in Odyssey, wasn't it?
It was 64 in Odyssey.
Yeah.
There's a level of, I understand Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Like I don't connect with it, but I understand it as a as a
Like its
revolutionary.
importance and why it
yeah.
is received as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that with Elden Ring.
Yep, for sure.
And I, you know, when I won Game of the Year, I looked at it and went like, of course it did. Like, why did I think it might not have been? Like, of course it's Elden Ring.
Were you expecting more God of War?
Look, I could, if I saw it, if God of War 1, I could see that happening because, you know, like we mentioned on the Game of the Year episode, like the term Oscar bait in terms of Game of the Year, the Game Awards bait, God of War would fit in that category quite well. Like an Uncharted, like a Last of Us, like a Ghost of Tsushima, like there are games that are easier to win awards than others, perhaps. Yeah. Outer Wilds robbed.
100% at all times.
Yeah.
I don't. Irrespective of context, yes.
Yeah. Elden Ring like makes sense as a game of the year.
Yes.
Like it's like a Titan, right?
Mm-hmm. It just is that impressive. It just is that good.
Yeah. And it's quite immediate all the way through that in a way that like it's immediate in a way that it kind of doesn't actually put itself in the spotlight instantly. The game is grand and the art style and direction is like impeccable, but it doesn't give you that Breath of the Wild moment of you standing on like the cliff edge and being looking across, because you don't start at the top of Elden Ring. You start sort of halfway to the bottom.
Yeah. You get like a bunch of those moments.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, when you first see Limgrave, and then when you get out of Stormvale and you first see Leonia of the Lakes, and then when you first get to the plateau.
But even then, it's because in Elden Ring, you are at the lowest. You are climbing. You are tarnished. You are the... You
probably can't do any of these you probably can't do any of these first.
No, you are climbing the mountain, whereas in Breath of the Wild, you are exploring the land. You are the hero.
You're exploring the plain.
But you are the hero in Breath of the Wild. You are the one that is going to save us, as opposed to everybody in Elden Ring calling you like rubbish.
Yeah, what makes you so special? Show us.
Yeah. So it's a different feeling, and therefore the game kind of feels that way as well, where the game climbs up to this monumental level of design almost, where it has used the previous games in that franchise as stepping stones to get to this monument, like this grand level of experience. But they still bring a lot of that, and sometimes they bring a lot of that in good and bad ways. The multiplayer shenanigans is silly.
Totally. Like, it's not resource limited this time, which is good, but yeah, it's still really... I remember that first time we did it, it took us 30 minutes to figure out how to do it reliably.
Yeah, and when it comes to video game mechanics, I feel like we've got a pretty good idea of how to get that stuff going.
Yeah.
And we were Googling it and it still wasn't working.
Yeah.
Some of the... Like, there's just like a lot in those games that is kind of... Like, I don't really enjoy like the actual like crafting and using items in those games to give you buffs a lot of the time, in any of the games, honestly. But I think that's because I don't think those mechanics are really explored that much. Like I said before, this is the most game.
Yeah.
There is every possible game situation.
Yeah, so many mechanics.
Well,
and
also,
it's still got that classic thing of like, this side quest is locked behind you emoting in a forest when you hear a wolf howl.
Yeah. And like, some of that stuff is like, I enjoy some of that in like a fucking classic this franchise. And there is respect, I think, to be given to like, well, they've still fucking committed to it. You know, they sometimes, you know, maybe awkwardness has a flavor.
Mm.
There's a reason people continue to watch David Lynch's weird dialogue scenes in certain shows and movies. It's because no one does it quite like he does.
Yeah.
No one makes a quest line quite like Miyazaki does.
Mm-hmm.
My case for Neon White,
yeah,
is that it only plays to its strengths.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't get pulled in different places. Like, I'm thinking of this critique that you've had with Elden Ring and these reservations that you have. And even though I only played like 2 or 3 hours, I did that one chapter quite thoroughly. And I got frustrated. That wasn't the game's fault. That was my like competitive spirit and me hyper focusing on like not progressing and not learning more mechanics and like also maybe being in a bad mood. And like, we could talk about how immaculately it's designed, and we could talk about how it's the coolest game this year. We could talk about how, yeah, maybe the story's a bit weak. I didn't mind it. The bit that I played, it's a bit earnest and a bit schlocky, and that's okay. Yeah. I was there for that. That was all right.
Yeah.
And, it sounds like they develop it and make something out of it. That's great. I look forward to playing that. Like, I can't really pull away from anything with Neon White. Or like, I can't really detract anything from Neon White. I don't feel like it singularly did what it wanted to.
Yeah, but in a way that's like, so do Vampire Survivors. But Neon White has done it in a way that makes it desirable. It makes it attractive to play and play and play and play. The few times I went back, so the way I started progressing through that game at some point was like, I'm just gonna go through every level one by one and then go through the whole chapter again, which is about 10-15 levels, and then hit all the ace scores. And that was how I was progressing through a lot of that game. And then I got to about a third left of the game, and then I started to actually, maybe I want to nail every level like right now. And then I would go back to the previous chapter and go, oh, fucking, like, what was I doing when I was playing this? Like, Right.
These are rookie numbers.
Yeah. The ability to revisit it, or to revisit the exact same thing with a brand new perspective and then excel at it and have, like, don't get me wrong, there was a level of the game giving you the right
achievement.
Yeah, like there was like the game giving that feedback. There was level of achievement, but there was level of like self-satisfaction. There was genuine like, oh, I felt fucking good when I nailed it. Yeah. And part of that is because you are like the margins for failure are razor thin.
Yeah, it pulls on that like mastery and execution thread. I guess Elden Ring does too, but this one does it for as long as you want to do it, and for as much as you want to get out of it. It's like practicing
it will support
skill.
Yeah, it will support that and feed you the right feelings to get it right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like there was a level that I did that I was getting the exact same score to the millisecond every single time, and I did it about 10-15 times in a row and got the exact same time. And then I did it like the 16th time and I knocked off like half a second. And that was when I'd stopped paying attention and I got into that trance, that flow state where like my mind and you get that in Elden Ring, you get that in all Souls games where like you like your eyes lose focus a little bit and you're kind of vaguely looking at every aspect of the screen all at once. And you then you actually stop looking at the background and you're just looking at you and the silhouettes of the boss. And like, and you get into that flow state, but they gave you that state in almost every level. They gave me that flow state in every level I wanted it in.
Yep.
Which was, I don't know how I fucking get that and have it in a form of like powder that I could take every morning to make the red.
They call it ecstasy or something. Yeah, no, I know, I know what you mean. There's something in play here because we're talking about how it pulls on those same threads of satisfaction and mastery, and how it's about getting as much out of it as you want, which you can do in a FromSoft game as well.
Oh yeah, like I'm trying to do that in Elden Ring.
I think something that allures me more towards the idea of Neon White, because again, I haven't played too much, but from what I have played and from your descriptions, it's the precision of the design that's so awesome.
Yes.
It's the and what it allows for you to experience and what it allows for you to achieve for yourself. You know, it's not necessarily a playground in the sense that it's open a la carte, but it is a set of obstacle courses for you to learn and grow and develop and experience and achieve in and secure and grasp and control and manipulate and master.
Yeah, like the directions, like the direction of the game is like really like kind of impeccable. Like what they decided to make was really fascinating, but the execution is almost more impressive. Because if the direction waned
it's not like there's a whole dud chapter or like
no, God no,
like you only get like half great levels and half good levels, or like 2/3 great levels and 1/3 good levels. It's like
yeah,
there's like a handful of duds,
and like
by the sounds of it.
I haven't played the game. Yeah, and like those are just like sometimes you're going down a level instead of up. And like that's still interesting the first time you go through those levels because like it's like a different twist. But it's like the only reason those levels don't appeal to me as much is because occasionally you have to wait to fall, and right. I am getting impatient at the speed of gravity at this point.
Yeah,
like which is like that's a pretty cool thing to know. The precision that it takes to build this out, and then the what's the word, the balls to put a leaderboard, I guess. Like the sheer idea that this is strong enough that we'd want people to compete.
Yeah.
And the competition aspect like of it between Steam friends is not like part of the game. It's not part of the story. It's not part of the progression.
Yeah, you could take it out.
Yeah. But they put it in, and then I get to like own a level.
Yeah.
Like that level, when I'm at the top, like suddenly like that's my territory.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, we experienced this when we played fucking the Astrobot game on the PlayStation 5 when the PS5 first came out. Like we were going back and forth each other, and the way that game did it so well was giving you that fucking notification that you can just press the button and throw you into
no matter what you were doing.
No matter what you were doing, you got a notification saying like Kerry fucking Palmer beat you in the level in Astrobot. Press here
to work.
Yeah, press it. And like I remember, like we've told this on a podcast that I was very drunk at home once, and I was in the middle of doing something
with your housemates.
Yeah, with my housemates, and then I got the notification, and so I stopped whatever we were doing, and I just like had to challenge you.
Yeah. Pissed me off that you did that drunk.
Yes. Oh yeah. I would love if Neon White could give me the same thing. There's too many levels to give you notification every time someone beaten you, but like the idea that like I can go back now and have a couple more of my Steam friends have played the game. I can see that they have claimed what is mine, which is at the top of the leaderboard on some of the levels, and I can just go in there and you know, like to refresh my mind, I'll go through the level once, and at that point,
Yeah.
it has seared into my brain what I need to do. It's a pretty intense feeling.
Yeah, and you get it reliably. You get it consistently.
Yes, it is frequent and like you said, reliable, and
it's on purpose.
But it's also never unenjoyable. It makes me want to play more.
Yeah.
There would be a time where I could want to launch that game again just to try and beat high scores and then turn it off again.
Yeah, for sure. I got frustrated with it, but I think honestly I didn't get far enough before I engaged with the time chase.
Yeah,
the time attack.
I think you maybe were engaging with that too early.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you build those soft skills as you play through.
Yeah. Yeah, and I should have just powered through. Jeremy, I'm willing to give it to Neon. Honestly, because I think what Neon White gains through its singular focus and it being so tight, just so tight, I think it is worth a lot. Not to say that it is inherently better because of that.
No.
But there is a bit with Elden Ring where I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is more Elden Ring, you know? Oh yeah, this is a tomb. I can do a tomb. Hey, it's another Erdtree burial watchdog. Cool. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, like
not at all.
It wasn't necessarily a problem in Breath of the Wild. Some people did have a problem with it, but like in Breath of the Wild, when you get to your next combat shrine and you find just another like tiny guardian with like different like an axe and a sword and a shield, right? Like those were different and unique, and sometimes there was water on the floor, so you could use your cryostasis ability, and sometimes or like shock arrows more effectively, and all of that. The game's still excellent, even if you start to get tired of the bits that they repeat because they made a game so large.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily this one's open and this one's not. This one's big and this one's small. Like I don't think that's what makes it the win. But
it's not better because
tight it is.
Yeah, it's not better because it's not an open world game. It is just an execution on a more direct focus that can like show itself off like more effortlessly, I guess, right? Like, you know, like
like the whole point of the game is sort of enjoying how well it's made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this level is made for you to go nuts in. We made this way. Yeah. And you can just go nuts in here. Have fun.
Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so one of the things that is so wonderful about that movie is that it is a movie about how good this movie can be, almost. Like it is such a pleasure of a film.
Yeah.
It is such a movie that is in love with itself and such a singular idea that commits to itself all the way through. And like that's not to say that it's like a better movie than Lord of the Rings, because Lord of the Rings is a second in the franchise and has to do a lot of stuff to set us up. Like, but also it kind of is because it doesn't have to do that stuff. Yeah. You know, Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers being the second one doesn't mean that it's weird. Like it's a weird thing to have to try and manage.
Mm-hmm.
Elden Ring, while like you said, it's more Elden Ring when you get to more Elden Ring.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's also more Souls.
That's true. That's a really good point.
It is more.
It did feel very familiar after not very much time with it.
yeah, like it is another one of those games, and
Mhm.
it is a revolutionary one of those games in its genre.
Yeah, in its context.
And you know, I think probably fair to say it is a redefining Souls game. But it is another one.
Yeah.
And there's not much really like Neon White. There are some
really.
games like it. You know, I think Devil Daggers is quite close to it.
That's a good score chaser.
In like mechanically speaking.
Yeah, and there's so many like time attack different things that you can point to. But yeah, this one feels like it's low pressure as well with Neon White because it's got that story element to it too. So you can enjoy just getting to the gold standard and then moving on.
Yeah.
You don't have to engage with it at that level. And then if you want to, that level of mastery is there for you. As opposed to something like Devil Daggers or like Geometry Wars, or I'm struggling to think of a proper time trial game, but as opposed to those ones where it's the point for you to be good. And then when you're not being good, you're failing at the game. You're not failing at the game if you don't choose to break the sequence in Neon White.
Yeah.
You're just engaging with it differently.
Neon White.
Neon White. I think so. minimap.com.au's 2022 Game of the Year is Neon White.
I'll make a Photoshop.
You'll make a Photoshop?
Yeah, I'll make a Photoshop of Neon White, Minimap's Game of the Year.
It's like someone saying, I'll make an Excel.
Yeah.
Like you gotta make a video for someone, and it's like, I'll make a premiere for them.
Well, what it's actually like is you know, like everybody's mother saying, I'll make a Facebook about it.
Yeah. I can't wait to Facebook about this.
Yeah, I said I'll make a Photoshop because it's 10 to midnight and I'm fucking exhausted.
Did you Twitter to your friends today?
Yes.
That wow, I did not expect. I thought we'd be over and done with that final deliberation like about 10 times faster than we were, but I did enjoy pulling that apart and smashing them together.
Yeah, and we weren't like being stubborn about it.
No, we're just exploring.
I didn't think we were, but it was an open discussion.
Indeed. And you know, when I was like, I'm not sure if we split it in two, I'm not sure if we'll have the You said we always go long when we do this.
We always go long.
Yeah.
Just this episode is 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. And you got your bonus episode, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. This is a long day for us. We got on the call at 5 p.m. It is now 10 to midnight, like you said before, Jeremy.
Been live for 6 hours and 21 minutes.
Yeah, we sure have. And honestly, I've had a great time.
Yeah, me too.
The Minimap event of the year, I would say.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening, everyone. And on a broader note, thank you to anyone who's listened to our show over the last year and over the last coming up to our 5-year anniversary pretty soon as well. It's been a really interesting year for us where we have both worked on this, but Jeremy has put in a lot of hard work as well to get the show into a video format with all the new graphics you've seen, with our new weekly schedule, getting onto more social platforms. There's a lot of things we want to do in the future, and Jeremy's drive and direction has been a big part of the changes we've made this year, and I think they've been quite positive. So thank you for that, Jeremy. I do really appreciate it.
There will be more us next year. Whether you like it or not, buck up.
Yeah, exactly.
Buckos.
Stuck with it. No, but what does that mean? It means you can look forward to potentially the resurrection of Minidisc, previously known as the Game Spoilers Podcast. We have episodes in the can of the pecking order that I would love to get into your ears. because that's one of my favorite shows that we do. With Jeremy's doing more writing. We're going to get guests. We're looking at more and more things. So watch out for that, everybody. It's coming down the pipe. And if you
like Chris Pratt.
Like Chris Pratt coming down the pipe, April 7th.
Don't say coming down the pipe, please.
What's wrong with coming down the pipe?
It sounds like coming down the pipe.
Oh, that's on you, buddy. Yeah, if you've enjoyed listening to us, I'm glad. Thank you for being here. And if you're, like we were saying before, we are going to go on a brief hiatus into January. If you're missing us, if you want to listen to more of us, I highly recommend our mini disc episodes, our game club episodes, if you haven't listened to those, for games you have and haven't played. If you don't think you'll get to them, or you could play it and then get inspired to play it yourself potentially, all of those mini disc episodes are all quite different in many ways. But they're all great. And sorry, our pecking order episodes. Yeah, thank you so much for being with us, everybody. It's been a great year. It's been a fun year, and we hope to see you all next year in 2023, which is absolutely mortifying. If you weren't aware, minimap.com.au is where you can go to find everything else Minimap. It's all on that website. You can also find us on our socials. That's Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at MiniMapAU, Hive at Minimap. It is funny every time I bring it up. We're there individually as well on Twitter and the socials. Jeremy, where are you on Twitter?
At Obi-Wan-Jez.
You can find me on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. You can find me on Hive without the _24. I'm not gonna give you a teaser for what's next, partially because we don't really know yet, and partially because we don't even know when it's gonna be. But you can watch out for us in January. We'll be towards the end of January, potentially February, but only if we go really long. And if you want to know more about all those details as we know them, we'll let you know on those social accounts.
We will have like announcements of what we're doing prior to coming back, probably. They'll just a hey, here's what to expect this year sort of thing.
Totally. So get ready for that, everybody. If you've enjoyed what you've listened to, please give us a positive rating on whatever platform you're listening to us on. It helps us out a great deal. And if you wanted to support us monetarily, that option is there available for you on Patreon. Patreon.com/minimapau. $5 Australian to ask us questions on the podcast. Potentially feet pics. We'll see. Probably not.
Only if you're lucky.
It was a good joke in the break. Thank you to everyone who's joined us on Twitch today and over the year. Thank you to everyone who's joined us on whatever service you find us on. And yeah, that's going to do it for us. We are officially running on empty at the end of the show, but it was a good run. It was a good marathon stream, like we said it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was as we intended, much like Minimap's Game of the Year Neon White, as intended. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll be back in 2023, and
the game
better than ever.
of the year was once again Bloodborne.
Oh my God, he's taking over the show.
Where's Deep Down?
I did not sign off on this.
Where's Deep Down?
Get us out of here, Jeremy. We'll see you next